Hey, what's up, everybody? I'll be live in just about a minute or two. Stay tuned. All right. Happy Friday. I'm sure we're all excited to get things started. So why don't we? Enough of this crap. Let's go. What's up, everybody? It's Friday here in New York City, coming to you live from Queens, New York. It's the morning, afternoon, live podcast, stream, whatever you want to call it. What's up, everybody? Hi. Happy Friday, y'all.
It's Friday, Friday.
Let's go. It's Friday. Hey, it's Friday. It's Friday. Everyone's excited. It's the weekend. It's the weekend. What's up, everybody? I see Arnold, I think, is still in the chat. What's going on? Oh, all right. Let's not get copyrighted. What's up, everyone? I hope everyone is having a great morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you're hailing from. Let me just make sure I hit that button. I am also now live on YouTube Shorts. So, if you like watching on your traditional horizontal formats, you can. But you can also watch it vertically, if you so incline to do so, on your phones. Very similar to Instagram or TikToky. TikToky. I provide both options for your viewing pleasures, everyone. So what is up? What's going on? And happy Friday to everybody. Arnold, I am fine. I am dandy. I overslept a little bit, but other than that, I'm quite okay. How about you, man? How are things over there on your end? Hope you had a great week. Suck, what's going on, Suck? What's going on? Happy Friday. Hope you had a good week. I hope you're having a good day. Chiming in on the vertical stream. Always a pleasure seeing you. I haven't changed my camera. Why does it look different? Is something off? How's the audio sounding, everyone? Hopefully the audio sounds good. Let me know if anything sounds weird. Or if I'm weird, well, I think I already know I'm weird, so. All sorts of weird. Stressful, lots of garden work. Oh. Garden work for your own home? Sounds like you had a busy day. Busy day. So hopefully you're relaxing now. Yes, it does, according to Suck. So everything seems to be sounding fine, looking fine. Just not so close this time. That's strange. I wonder if you're so used to watching it on vertical. Because for some reason vertical gives that impression like I'm very close when I'm really not. And then the traditional horizontal way is the normal way it's supposed to look, I guess, according to my screen. That's the only way I can describe it. But I'm happy to be here on a Friday. As always, main things for today's stream, just to put it all out of the way, get it all out of the way. There is one big movie opened up this week, and that is A Quiet Place Day 1. So I will be talking about that movie and reviewing it today. I also had a chance to finally see Kinds of Kindness. That's Yorgos Lanthimos' latest film, starring Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, Willem Dafoe, Margaret Qualley. So those are the two movies I actually had a chance to see yesterday, and I'll be talking about them in today's stream. So if you're looking forward to my thoughts review on those two movies, then this is the place to be. All here, hanging out with you guys on this fine Friday, and then we'll talk about, I don't know, random stuff. What's in the news? Kevin Feige talking about the Fantastic Four or whatever. Oh, you're watching Narnia. You're going way back. That's awesome. I haven't seen those movies in a very long time. But I remember watching the first Narnia in the theater with my niece and nephew. And my niece loved it. My nephew, not so much. He was a little distracted. He kind of wanted to leave. So that was a little disappointing. I have read your comments. Sorry, I know you told me what to call you, your name. It's hard for me to remember because my memory is usually terrible. I'm bad with names, and I can't. I believe that's Russian. I can't read Russian. So, but Alex, thank you. You know what? Your name starts with A, so I should always remember that. Alex, 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 Alex. I hope you're having a great day. Thank you for tuning in again. T, what's up? T, nice to see you here in the vertical stream. Hope you had a wonderful day, or maybe you're having a good start to your day. I hope you had a wonderful week. Happy Friday, everybody. I'm excited to talk about movies today. 2 new movies that I got a chance to see, and a lot of stuff to talk about. So I'm really, really excited. Where is Chewbacca? I don't have Chewbacca today. So a funny thing that I do is when I make coffee, I usually make a lot of coffee, and then I keep some and I put it in the fridge to save for like the next day or whatever. So this is just me and my leftover coffee from yesterday. So so I don't have my Chewbacca mug today. It's kind of sad. Yes, Arnold, you're correct. Let's get the Loki Geek Army bigger. So everyone, don't forget, hit that like button, whether you're watching on the vertical or normal streams. If you are just tuning in for the first time, if you hit that like button, we could help grow this community. It helps with the algorithms and stuff, and it leads to more great conversations with all of you out there. So don't forget, hit that like button. Talked about the Star Wars trilogy. We talked a bit about that on Wednesday, if I remember correctly. Wednesdays are usually Star Wars Day because of the Acolyte. So always enjoys talking about Star Wars anytime. Ella chiming in from Germany. What's going on, Ella? In the vertical streams, we also have troll edits with a trademark on it. That's some big deal right there. It's a big deal. Big deal. T has just become a member. Thank you so much for joining up, signing up for as little as $1 as US dollar. You could also become a member to the channel. And it's an easy way to show your support and all that. Thank you so much. T, that's really, really nice of you. Seriously, I really totally appreciate it. Arnold watched Quiet Place. It was okay. 6 out of 10. Okay. Now, when you watched The Quiet Place, did you watch it in the theater or did you watch it at home? I'm just curious. Troll Edit says you can watch some of his edits on his channel. So if you're interested in that, check it out. You watch it in the cinema. Okay. I thought A Quiet Place was a brilliant movie. Very interesting concept when you think about it too. And I'm surprised no one really took advantage of this type of idea where sound plays a huge role in everything. Now I know there have been movies, especially horror movies, that play with sound and the importance of sound. But when you deal with creatures or aliens that are so sensitive to sound, that is the only sense they have, it's very fascinating, especially when one of your main characters cannot hear. And I think that interesting dynamic within that storyline made it so intriguing. And this was the first time that we saw John Krasinski do anything outside of The Office, really. And I thought he did such a great job writing and directing this type of storyline. And the performances in it were great. I mean, I just rewatched the first two this week, to kind of hype me up and prep me for this new movie that's coming out. And Emily Blunt's performance in the first and second movies are so good, but in the first one particularly, because it's interesting. In the first movie, you have the parents, the adults that are really trying to do whatever they can to protect the kids. And then in the second one, you kind of had like a little twist, a little change where you have now the kids trying to mature themselves and grow up so that they could eventually take care of the adults, the parents, right? So I thought the first movie was one of those movies like, what can go wrong will go wrong, right? Where you have this family, it looks like they prepped for everything possible to basically make sure that they have everything that they needed, to make sure that they had everything set. Emily's character is now pregnant and making sure that everything is soundproof. But then the minute something just goes wrong, everything goes wrong. You have Emily's character giving birth, trying to remain quiet. You have, the father and the son away for a little bit. It's just a lot of things that just go wrong. And it was such an end, not to mention, and again, spoiler alert, because this movie has been out for a while. So if you haven't seen it, you haven't seen it. But when John's character dies, it was such a heartbreaking moment. It just filled that emotional thing that sometimes works so well in these type of storylines. So it was really, really great to see all in the big screen, especially when sound is a big deal, you know. And I remember everyone was just quiet, and then when those moments happen, you just hear like gasps in the audience. It's so great. And the second one, of course, expanded the world that we're in, right? So we get to see that there's a community out there that survived. Poor Jamin Hansu shows up for like 5 minutes and it gets taken away. So it was really great to actually see him in this new movie, right? So I thought that was really, really cool. Arnold in one place. I almost died. Scared me so much. I don't live in Brooklyn. I actually live in Queens. Alex, rule number one in this world: no sex. Yeah, usually you would think that. I don't think it's really a great idea to have sex uh, when you're in an apocalyptic environment. I don't think that's really a good thing. Wow, T. Oh my God! Thank you so much. T just gifted 5 memberships to the channel. So those who are receiving memberships, you have Reeves Uppercut, Aggressive, Tommy, the Sounddowners Club, and Geek Ledger with now memberships to the channel. T, you are amazing. T also said that he really enjoyed the first 2 movies, Quiet Place. So that's awesome. Good to hear. So I'm thinking that you are looking forward to this new one, right? Or maybe not. But T, thanks again for the memberships. That's so awesome. Also, I don't know why. Why are the notifications not working? I'm supposed to be having notifications popping up. Hold on. Let's see. Did anyone see like the notifications pop up? I need to fix these notifications. Something's always going wonky with these things. Give me 1 second, y'all. Ugh. I hate dealing with this stuff. Arnold saying he wishes his ex was so quiet. I'm pretty sure some of us can relate based on certain experiences that we may have had in the past. Give me 1 second, everybody. Sorry. I know behind the scenes stuff sometimes is boring, but I just want to make sure that I have this thing working because it is important to have the notifications on screen. Let's see, recent events. Let's see. Alert box. And let's see here. It looks like everything should be working fine. I don't know. I do apologize, y'all, if these things aren't working correctly.
I'm gonna come.
Yeah, see, now I see that coming up. But for some reason, it just didn't trigger. I don't know if I have to have this open, but I don't know. But T, again, I really, really totally appreciate the gifted memberships. Alex, from Russia with love. I'm assuming you're leaving. So I hope you have a good evening. I believe it's evening there for you, right? But I always appreciate you stopping by. Arnold, who is the little one right with you? You talking about this little guy? This little lady right here? So this is one of those promotional McDonald's things where back in the 80s and 90s, one of the big promotional things that you would see in the commercials are these like little chicken nugget guys, right? When they were really heavily promoting chicken nuggets. And they just brought them back, I would say several months ago. So they did this promotion where you could get an adult Happy Meal. This is an adult Happy Meal figure. And they did a limited edition run on all of these chicken nugget guys. So this is, her name is, oh, it's actually a him. Sorry, it's a guy. Don Bernice. No, it's actually a lady. I don't know. It's a them. But they come with like a little collectible card. as well. So I thought it was like kind of funny. Plus, I thought the notion of an adult Happy Meal was actually really funny. So I had to get one. I actually had it live on the stream when I did it. So Kevin Davis, A Quiet Place Day One will do well. Kevin, by the way, always great to see you stop by. I love the little stats and discussions we have about box office and all that. So really always appreciate you stopping by. Searchlight Pictures Kindness of Kindness will get Oscar nominations. I hope so. I really enjoyed that movie, and I'll talk more about it a little later. But Yorgos Lanthimos, for me, once again, has done it. David coming in from Brazil. What's going on, David? Nice to see you in the vertical stream. Really appreciate it. Arnold thinks this guy looks like his uncle. So maybe. If your uncle looks like this and also dons a cape, then I think your uncle's pretty damn awesome. But yeah, really appreciate everyone being here. Again, as always, please don't forget, hit that like button so that more people can see this, more people can experience the community. Algorithms, YouTube, they love stuff like that. So if you could hit the like button, that'll be awesome. David is new here. Yeah, I know. I've never seen you here before in any of the streams, so I really appreciate you stopping by. I'm curious, if you are swinging by here for the first time, if you're happening to watch this for the first time, how did you get here? Did YouTube say, hey, check this out? Or did something, was it like a suggested video or stream? Did you do a search? I know some people sometimes they look up things on YouTube and they found this stream. So I'm very curious how everyone comes across this channel. And I'm also very grateful. So I'll get into talking more about these two movies that I saw yesterday in a little bit. So Arnold says you have a date right away. Is that true? You have a date coming up, or you have a date tonight? Alex saying the video quality is nice. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I try my best. Kevin, if you're still here watching, I know we always like to talk about box office. How much do you think it's going to do opening weekend? I think Quiet Place Day One, just based off what I saw with the audience last night, I think it has a potential to do maybe 20 to 30 million this weekend. I think. But we'll see. I think during Thursday, it already did 5 million domestically. So we'll see. Ados is back. What's going on, Ados? Always great to see you. Buena noite. I believe I said it right. Is that correct? Kevin thinks 40 to 50 million. Okay. Let's see what happens this past weekend. I hope it does well. I think this franchise, this universe, I really appreciate this universe. And it's interesting what they could do. The potential of what they could do in this universe is always interesting to think about. So I hope it does well. I still think Inside Out 2 is still going to remain in the top spot through the weekend. I think it will stay there until July 4th weekend when Despicable Me 4 comes out. Arnold, so I missed your chat. I don't know if you're trying to edit it and repost it, but I'd love to see what you're going to say. I believe it said something to do about McDonald's. Uh-oh. Alex is saying now there's bad quality. It could just be connection. My little brother brings something from McDonald's. We'll enjoy it so much. Oh, that's nice. I was so tempted after the movies to go get something from McDonald's, but I said to myself, no. I've been eating way too much junk food lately, so I'm trying to cut back as much as possible. So Arnold, it's nice to see that your burger is your date tonight. I'm sure you're gonna love it. You guys are gonna hit it off really well. And when the time comes, You guys are going to be all over each other.
I'm gonna come.
There's going to be some serious making out with that burger. I could sense it. I could sense it. It's in the cards for you tonight. You guys are going to hit it off. And it's going to be fantastic. Scorched is also in the house. What's going on, Scorched? Chiming in in the vertical stream. Nice to see you here, as always. Hope you're having a good Friday. Hope you had a great week. Oh, man. Arnold says he's going to turn that burger into a donut.
You blew it!
He's gonna go all American pie up in this business. Scorch finally has seen Boy and the Heron. Oh my goodness. I am so happy you did. I'm very curious what your thoughts are on it. Because it was I had a chance to see that movie at New York Film Festival last year. And it was so refreshing and great to see Miyazaki come back. It was so good. Very, very, if you really sit down to think about it, in a way, without talking too much about it, it almost feels like Miyazaki is reflecting on his own life when he made that movie. So. Oh, you also saw The First Omen. How was that? I hear good things about it. The only Ghibli movie I hadn't seen yet. It's fire. Nice. People are waiting for Deadpool and Wolverine. Yes, that is correct. Yeah. Kevin, I think Deadpool and Wolverine is the movie the majority of people are waiting for. And that's going to be the major hit of the summer. And I still think it's going to be probably the most successful movie of this year as far as box office is concerned. Joker Folie 2 will be moderate success for Warner Brothers. I agree with that too. I don't think a lot of people are expecting there to be a sequel, and I don't think a lot of people are. When I say a lot of people, I'm talking about like generic movie-going audiences. I don't think they're looking forward to this movie at all, really, honestly. But I think it'll do okay. Joaquin Phoenix's performance, I'm sure, is going to be fantastic. Arnold thinks he needs help. Arnold, I think you'll be fine. Scorched Immaculate is basically the same exact movie. Also, there was another Omen movie that came out this year. Yeah, there's a lot of these like Omen/Exorcist movies coming out. There's just a new Exorcist movie that just came out this past week, I think, or this week. Isn't there one where they're filming or talks about the filming of the Exorcist movie or something like that? I don't understand what's going on with all of this. But there's a lot of fascination about exorcism and omens, and they're trying their best. They're trying to cash in on all of this stuff. But look, I'll say this. I've said this before. If you want to make a good horror movie, you just be unique about it. One of the things why Late Night with the Devil worked so well is because it was unique. They did something different. They tried something different. And I thought, the performances in it were great. Well, David Dastmalchian's performance was great. Some of the other performances were kind of hokey, but I like when they really try to be things different. And of course, anything A24 does, Blumhouse is always very unique about it too. So you like Alex asking if I like famous monsters. I do. If you're talking about like the classic Universal monsters, I grew up always appreciating Frankenstein, Wolfman, Invisible Man, things like that. Creature from the Black Lagoon. I remember on TV watching it in 3D because they used to do this thing where it's like 3D, like Horror Vision in 3D or something like that. And I remember watching it in 3D on TV in black and white. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. They gave you the 3D glasses in the Sunday newspaper here in the United States. And I thought that was really, really great. The Mummy is a great one too. So I remember growing up appreciating those things. And then seeing it now as an adult, it's always very interesting to go back and look at it, especially when you learn like who the actors are behind it and kind of like the politics behind it all between Bela Lugosi and who's the other actor? It was Bela Lugosi and shoot, the guy who played Frankenstein. I don't know, his name escapes me right now, but I always love reading and hearing about the politics behind it too. Boris Karloff, yes, thank you. Yeah. And how what was it? I think there was a lot of back and forth. Bella would say Boris is Frankenstein is not a dignified character, so that's not a lot of acting involved or something like that. It's so fun. And then of course you hear about the heroin abuse that Bela had to go through, and it's just so funny. Well, another great movie that kind of like parodies this stuff, but also is kind of like close to truth is Ed Wood, the Tim Burton movie Ed Wood. I really loved watching that movie and seeing how they kind of talked about the behind the scenes of all those things in a comedic way. It was always so cool to see. First Omen was actually pretty good. I'm glad to hear that. Arnold doesn't like the wide angle from the horizontal stream. Okay, well, again, I provide options for everybody. Kevin saying Broadway crowd will go see Wicked. My only concern it going get overshadowed by Moana 2. I kind of agree. Also, yes, I one of the things I said when I saw the trailers for Wicked was the first trailer I thought was intriguing. And I was like, okay, this looks like something interesting to see. Then when I saw the second trailer, I was like, oh no. Like I all of a sudden I kind of lost interest. But I knew the Broadway crowd, the musical crowd, theater people would love, like this is meant for them. But with Moana 2, it's a kids movie, it's a beloved movie for children. It's a beloved Disney movie at this point. I think that is going to blow it way out of the water because it's a movie for everybody. I think there are going to be a lot of kids who probably won't like Wicked when that comes out. I think. I don't know. The Mummy is the only one. Pretty sure Boris is Anglo-Indian like you. Oh, I don't know. Maybe. Monster AG. What's Monster AG, Arnold? Kevin, Catherine Hahn will be good performance as Agatha. People will not give the show a chance. Oh, you're talking about it was that Agatha All Along, the Marvel show coming out on Disney Plus. I like Catherine Hahn. I like her performance as Agatha. I think I'll think if anything, it should be fun. At least I'm hoping it'll be fun. Plus, Aubrey Plaza is in it too. So I think that's going to be great. Alex is asking, very scary film, my opinion. Are you asking me what my favorite scary film is, or let me know what you mean? Monster AG movies. What are the Monster AG movies? Or maybe I'm thinking of something different. Monster AG movies? Oh, are you talking about like Monsters Inc.? The Pixar movies? Because I love the first Monsters Inc. movie. So good. So unique on the storytelling of it. You know? I love how they kind of played on a lot of our, I guess, fears as a kid and put it in a way to help tell a story and explain them all. I thought it was really, really unique and interesting. Oh, in Germany, it's called Monster AG. So is AG kind of like the acronym or the abbreviation for like a business, like a corporate business? Because that's interesting to know. I always love hearing what movies are called in other countries. So what Alex? You're asking what my first scary film I've ever seen? If it's the first movie, the if first scary movie I've ever seen, the first scary movie I've ever seen was, hmm. Well, I guess technically you could say Gremlins, because Gremlins was kind of meant to be like a horror comedy. But I ended up actually loving it. I was 8 years old, I think, at the time when that movie came out. No. Hold on. This came out in 1984. So I was 6. And my famous story behind Gremlins is that I saw this movie 8 times in the theater. That's how much I loved it. So I didn't get scared of it. If anything, honestly, E.T. scared me. Because when my mom took me to see E.T., we were late, like really late. And what we used to do, we used to go to movies late. We'll sit through the movie and then we'll just wait for the next showing to show, and then we'll just sit there and watch it through. But when we walked into the theater, it was the time where A.T. died, and he's in the body bag, and the body bag's open, and you just see like this crusty, pale looking E.T. And I freaked out. I started crying. I was like, what am I seeing? And my mom had to get me the hell out of there. And because of that moment, it traumatized me for a long time. I didn't get to watch E.T. the movie in its entirety as a whole. Probably I had to be like in my early 20s, I think, when I first saw it. Then when I finally saw it, I was like, oh, you know what? This is kind of a cute movie. I wish I saw this when I was younger, because I think it would have meant more to me as a younger kid. Kevin asking if I think Pixar will stop putting out original films since Inside Out 2 has been a success for them. I think what they're going to do is that they're going to limit the amount of original films. They're still going to do it, but they're going to like spread them in. I think I saw Pete Docter giving an interview, and I had a chance to actually see Pete Docter in person doing a Q&A for Inside Out 2. So if you're interested in seeing that, make sure to check out the channel. I have that video up there. I think they're going to focus on things that people would want to see. I think that's one of their main focuses right now. And if people have fond memories of their beloved classics, like Monsters, Inc., Toy Story, maybe Incredibles to a certain point, I think they're going to be focusing on telling or continued stories around these worlds. But I still think they're going to do unique and interesting things in between, so that the big movies that will make a lot of money are your sequels to all of these other movies. And then it'll help kind of, I guess, give them a reason or an excuse to do these other ones that may not do so well. You know, so I think they're going to do a mixture too, but I do think they're going to focus a lot on sequels and follow-ups to movies that people are really looking forward to. What's going on, Mr. Mr. Breast 1000? There was the Joan of Arc movie that scared me as a child. Which Joan of Arc movie was that, Scorched? Kevin saying, do you think there's going to be a Bad Boys 5? If there is, I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised. Because I guess you could kind of say that Bad Boys 4 is a pretty decent success for the studio, so I won't be surprised. Would I want to see it? No. I think they've done what they could with this franchise. Both guys are getting old. It's even though I enjoyed this movie quite a bit, I think you might as well just let's leave it where it is for now. You know, go out on a high note. Let's not do a Fast and Furious where it gets really weird and tired after a while. Even though there are still a lot of people who love Fast and the Furious, I think it's time to kind of just hang it up for a bit. Or you could do a spin-off. You know, for those of you who've seen the recent Bad Boys movie, there's some ideas you can do with a certain spin-off. So I'm just saying. Scorch Fast and Furious 9 Part 2 is going to be crazy. Well, did you hear that they're not calling it Part 2 anymore? I think they're just calling it just Fast and Furious. Whatever, Part 10. And I heard that it's going to be a little bit more grounded, right? So it'll be nice to see them going back to their roots. Do I think Amy Adams will finally win her first Oscar after so many nominations? What is she doing this year, Kevin? Remind me, what is she? Is she doing anything this year that's going to be big or has potential to be big? Ados, thank you. Thank you for continuing to teach me Portuguese or Portuguese. Boa tarde. That's good afternoon. Thank you. Scorch Lame also just heard the Talk to Me bros are no longer directing the Street Fighter. Yeah. Yeah. I heard that they dropped out of that, right? They dropped out of, and then I think in other further Street Fighter news, they announced when that let's see, that Sony is going to be the one releasing the newest Street Fighter movie, whatever that turns out to be, in 2026. So that's interesting to find out. Kevin's asking if I think Dune 2 will get Best Picture nomination. Um, out of all the movies that I've seen this year so far, and we're approaching end of June, beginning of July. I would say that Dune 2 is up there in the top 5 to 10 movies of the year so far. The rest of the year, it's not looking so hot as far as big movies or interesting movies. I mean, there's going to be a lot of interesting movies still coming out this year. Some of them which I think are very Oscar baity. So it's still yet to be seen. Dune 2 has the potential to be nominated for Best Picture. Oh, sorry, you lost your phone there, Mr. Brass. Hope everything's okay now. I see you chatting away now. So, again, anyone who's watching live or is just tuning in, don't forget, hit that like button so we can have more conversations with a bunch of fun folks like what we have here in the chat right now. D is in the house. What's going on, D? Nice to see you here on the vertical stream. Always a pleasure seeing you stop by. Hope you're having a great Friday. And I hope you had a great week. Mr. Bress still can't find it. Then how are you typing? How are you chatting? Are you doing like a voice chat? Is it in your head? Is it in your mind? It's a mystery. Do-do-do-do-do. Bum, bum, bum.
Hey, how about you thank them, dickless?
He's using a photon accelerator. Perfect. Perfect. That's amazing. Everybody smell my farts is in the chat. Some of these names are hilarious, man. You guys crack me up. D saying Mr. Bress is on his laptop. Or it could be very much like, they're saying, could be a photon accelerator. Oh, he found it. Everyone, he found his cell phone. Smelling farts. No, no, I don't think anyone can smell them right now, and I think we're pretty thankful that we can't. Maybe he was lying on it. That's very true. That happened to me sometimes when I'm sleeping. Sometimes I'll wake up and I wonder, like, oh, where's my phone? I can't find it, and I only find out that I was sleeping on it. Everyone, you know, it's always very touching when viewers, people here on the stream, share their utmost concerns, their, you know, they get personal and they share their emotions or their issues with us. So I want to take some time out right now to address someone in the chat who's obviously going through a very tough time. And Smell My Farts, I really hope that you can find some sort of way to ease your pain after being so constipated in the pool that you're in right now. Everyone, let's give a little moment for Smell My Farts, please. Do you think I'm mean? Or are you talking to somebody else? I think I'm a very nice guy. I think. I don't know. Everyone else could think I'm wrong. Well, if you think you are, I think it's very important. Number one, get out of the pool, and number two, go seek some help. By the way, mailbag time. I got a package. Get it? But I got something else outside of that. And I'm very excited for this. This was on sale on Amazon here because it was it $13 or $14? And when I saw that, I was like, I have to get it because it's so cheap. And that is Total Recall on 4K Blu-ray, the classic Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Only $14 on Amazon, so I had to get it. And I'm so excited. If Star-Lord was here, he would be super excited as well because we love talking about this movie Total Recall, and I can't wait to watch it when I have a chance this weekend. So, yeah, Blu-ray. I still highly support physical media. Whenever I can, whenever I can afford it, I always love buying Blu-rays. Scorch It is a classic. I can't wait. Yes, I can't wait to see the three boobed alien in ultra HD 4K. It's going to be glorious. What's going on, Lahith? I hope that's how you pronounce your name. Thank you for checking out the stream. Thank you for saying hi. I hope you're having a good day. If I did own a photon accelerator, I wouldn't tell you because that could be very incriminating, and I wouldn't want to be on anyone's list as far as government's concerned. I wouldn't want a dickless fool knocking on my door and getting upset.
Hey, how about you thank them, dickless?
Everyone, Smell My Farts is having a terrible day. Not only is he constipated in the pool, he may be bleeding. His balls have now fallen off. He's just having a terrible, terrible day. So, if everyone in the chat can just say sorry. Actually, no, don't say sorry. Just don't say anything. What about a C4 uranium nuke? First of all, it is interesting that you keep bringing these things up. It's making me think that maybe you have some of these things, which I don't know if you want to be saying that in the chat. Very incriminating for yourself, but I do not have one of those. No. I think my neighbor does, though. I always feel kind of weird whenever I walk by their door. It almost makes me feel like my lips are vibrating for some reason. You know, you think the soundboard's not necessary. I think your comments are not necessary. Oh! Okay, all right. Calm down. Shut up, everybody. All right, everybody. I think it's time. I know a lot of people are here and they're excited to hear about my thoughts and reviews on the two movies in question for today's stream. So let's talk about some of these movies. Should we? Shall we? The first movie that I had a chance to see yesterday was Kinds of Kindness, the latest from Yorgos Lanthimos. Let me talk a little bit about Yorgos. So this is a director. My first exposure to his movies was when I had a chance to watch The Lobster for the first time on Netflix. I think this was like maybe around 3 or 4 years ago, the first time I had a chance to see it. And the minute I saw that movie, it immediately hit me. I'm like, this is a kind of a director that I actually appreciate, because his humor is very dark. He's not afraid to be very unique and abstract when it comes to his storytelling. And he's able to kind of bring out these interesting performances from his actors. So The Lobster was definitely a very unique movie, and I really, really liked it. And then it got me into this whole kind of journey through his entire filmography. Now, I think for most audiences, they're familiar with his movie, The Favorite, because it had a lot of Oscar buzz the year it came out. But I think more and more people really, really started to be aware of him last year when his movie Poor Things came out. What's going on, Negrosida? I hope that is your name. I hope you're doing well. So when Poor Things came out, again, I saw it last year, New York Film Festival. Had the pleasure of actually hearing and seeing Yorgos Lanthimos and his crew talk about the movie. This was around also when they were still dealing with the actors' strike. So unfortunately, like Emma Stone couldn't make it or whatever. But when I saw this movie, I knew immediately that this was going to be my favorite movie of last year. And it turned out to be that. It was in very high competition with Saltburn. Those two are like 1 and 2 for me as far as best movies of last year. And it's very, very Yorgos Lanthimos type of movie. Very unique, very weird, the humor in it is very dark, but he was able to tell a very interesting and compelling story. So I'm always very interested to see what other movies he's going to come out with. And it's interesting because it seems like within these couple of years, he's been working with the same people in a lot of his upcoming projects, right? All right, Smell My Farts. It's been fun. but you're starting to be a little. I feel like you're just looking for attention, and honestly, we don't care. So everybody, say goodbye to smell my farts. Goodbye, smell my farts. I know it was kind of like a long time coming, so I was trying to give him a little benefit of doubt, thinking that he was, trying to be funny and all that, but he's being very distracting in the chat, so I apologize. Um, and Mr. Bress, you're very close yourself to getting banned too. So, if you have nothing interesting to contribute to the chat, and you're just looking to say outrageous things, look, I don't want to be that guy, but I'm sure there are a lot of people here who really don't care for that stuff. All right. So what's very interesting about Yorgos is with Poor Things, Emma Stone was not only hired upon to be an actress in this movie, but she liked the story so much that she ended up becoming one of the producers of the film. And it seems like this has turned into very much a creative team with Yorgos's like upcoming projects, including this one, where in Kinds of Kindness he teams up again with Emma Stone and Willem Dafoe and Margaret Qualley, who all were in Poor Things. Emma Stone and Yorgos also did a short film last year that I don't know if you could find it anywhere right now, but I've been dying to see it. And the next project that Yorgos is doing will also have Emma Stone in it as well. And I think Jesse Plemons is also attached to it. So it's very interesting how he found himself a little creative crew that he likes working with here. And I feel like it's just basically they all got together probably during around the time that they were making Poor Things. And they probably like spitballed a whole bunch of these different ideas. And they say, oh, we should make a movie about this. We should make a movie about that. And they probably kept going, right? And Kinds of Kindness is an interesting movie because it's an anthology movie that features 3 stories in it. 3 short stories within this one feature film. And again, it just makes me think like Yorgos was sitting down with Emma and Willem and all those other people. And we're probably just like, hey, I have this idea. I don't know if this could be a full movie, but what if we made this like trilogy of short stories? We turned it into an anthology film and, do something like that. So it is very interesting. Reading some history about this movie, the film's original title was RMF, and then later on it was changed to and then was again changed to Kinds of Kindness. So it's interesting how he was toying around with what this movie was going to be called. But RMF is still an ongoing figure or thing within this movie or within the 3 short stories. Arnold's got his McDonald's, so his date with his burger has finally arrived, and he's going to have some alone time. So enjoy your McDonald's, Arnold. And RMF, without spoiling too much, is a reoccurring character in the 3 short stories that we see. And in a way is kind of like the observer or the innocent that ties all of these 3 short stories together, because each short story doesn't have any connections to each other, really. Each story has all the same actors in them, but they don't reprise any of their roles. They aren't related to anyone in other stories. It's all separate storylines altogether. In a way, it's kind of like a twisted Twilight Zone type episode, Tales from the Crypt, like how those things work out. It felt like this is Yorgos's version of that type of show that we're seeing being played out here. And each short story had interesting titles to them, all with RMF in them. So it's like one of them was called The Flight of RMF, The Death of RMF, or RMF is Dying, or something like that. And then the other title, I believe, was RMF Eats a Sandwich. And you hear these titles, and you're just like, what the hell are they talking about? And at this point, it doesn't even matter at this point. But you have 3 short stories in this. One explores kind of the relationship this guy has, Jesse Plemons, with Willem Dafoe. And it's a very controlling relationship, well, it being business or romantic. And what happens when you take away that control for someone who kind of depended on it for a long time. That's what the first short story kind of deals with. The second short story deals with a police officer who loses his wife in a way. Then she comes back, and it's dealing with her coming back and wondering if she is the same person that she was before she left. So you have that short story there. And then the third talks more about this kind of religious sexual cult and the journey of this one individual trying so hard to be a part of this cult, and kind of the shenanigans that are involved in that. So when it comes to like themes and thematic things that are happening here, very much in the Yorgos Lanthimos way. The stories explore themes like control, dependencies, right, love, or different forms of love. The title Kinds of Kindness is a parody and play on what's actually happening with these individuals in these 3 stories. You know, some of them may consider what they're doing and their actions are leading to their way of showing kindness. But the opposite could be easily said too, especially the end results of what happens and the consequences that people have when they are going through the series of events that they're going through. But again, before I go into any kind of spoiler talk about any of this stuff, I really enjoyed this movie. It's not for everybody. I think if people really like Poor Things, they're going to find this movie to be very weird. And I think they're going to be very taken back by it. But for me, this feels very much, it falls in alignment with the type of stuff that Yorgos does. If you've watched any of his other movies in the past, I found it to be extremely funny at times, very funny. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't realize is that Yorgos Lanthimos, at the end of the day, he's always trying to do comedy. It's just done in a very unique, abstract kind of way, and in a very dark way. So it is it's filled with a lot of dark humor, a lot of disturbing imagery as well. But overall, I found it to be very entertaining. But it's not going to be for everybody, especially for those who are looking for how these short stories are interconnected or have any relation with each other. It's not that type of thing. Yes, there is one individual that seems to appear in all 3 of the stories, but it's inconsequential. It doesn't matter. It's just something that's interesting that Yorgos probably put in there as a kind of like a little tongue-in-cheek laughter, you know, kind of acknowledgement that this is silly. But hey, look, you're seeing the same person show up time and time again. Very similar to like what Ari Aster does in his movies. You know, I heard Ari Aster at one point say that he loves including a weird individual in the background of his movies that maybe you will miss when you watch it for the first time. But if you watch it the second or third time, you'll notice that maybe there's this weird character in the background that may be just staring at you or staring at the main character. And for him, that's just a joke. That's just something that he likes to kind of not troll the audience, but just kind of put in there, just like, that kind of makes me laugh. So that's kind of funny. So I think RMF is kind of that same type of character that Yorgos probably found hilarious to kind of include in all 3 short stories. But the performances were fantastic. It's really Jesse Plemons' show for the most part. He is the main character in 2 of the 3 stories. Emma Stone, or Emily Stone, I think she wants to be called Emily now moving forward, is the main focus in the 3rd story. But Jesse Plemons is fantastic. This guy has a way to transform himself a lot. And it's funny seeing him in Civil War recently. and now seeing him in this movie, he finds ways to transform himself, and it's just so interesting. He's an interesting person. He's an interesting actor, but he's so good in this. And Emma Stone, of course, is always good in these type of movies. In what she's doing lately, Willem Dafoe was fantastic. Margaret Qualley, you know, I didn't think that much of her as an actress, especially when I saw that movie recently that she did. What was that movie? The Coen brother movie. Oh, Jesus, what's the name of it? Let me pull it up right now. Drive Away Dolls, I think it's called. I disliked that movie. That movie was just kind of unbearable for me, but I thought she was actually very good in this. And Hong Chow was great too. I think Hong Chow is a great actress. She doesn't get recognized enough, but I think she is a brilliant actress. Another one to also notice is or note is Mamoudou Athie. I think he's another reoccurring person in all three stories, and his acting throughout them is fantastic as well. So I really enjoyed this movie. My rating overall on Letterboxd would be a 4 out of 5 stars. But again, I would totally understand if there are going to be people here who end up watching this movie and be like, what the hell is this? What's going on here? But if you're into the absurd, if you're into the dark humor, if you are a fan of Yorgos Lanthimos' movies and the way he does stories and the way he tells stories, then I think you will totally, totally appreciate a movie like this. And I think you'll find it to be very, very fun and exciting. So yeah, so that's my overall thoughts and review on the movie. I can go into more details and talk about more of the stories in general and what I liked about them, but that's all up to you guys if you want to hear that or not. Because each story was absolutely very interesting and very unique. And I would even say that one of them leaves you wondering, what exactly are you seeing at the end of it? But yeah, let me know in the chat if Kinds of Kindness is a movie that you're looking forward to seeing, or maybe you've seen it already. So let me know your thoughts on all that stuff. And then I'll get into some spoiler discussion with this movie because I think it's fun to talk about, honestly. And again, if you are just tuning in and you're just stopping on by, make sure you hit that like button for the video to help with the algorithms and to get more and more people familiar with this channel and this community. Let's help grow this community. What's going on, everybody? How's everyone doing? Sorry, I'm just getting some liquids in me. It's always important to stay hydrated, y'all. Give me 1 second. Ooh, I just got an interesting notification. Oh. All right. Well, I'm a little excited after seeing this notification I just got. It looks like I may be able to see Long Legs on Monday. This coming Monday. Looks like I may have been invited to a special screening for it. That's exciting. Ooh, who's looking forward to Long Legs? I believe Scorch said they were looking forward to Long Legs, right? If I remember correctly. Is the chat working okay? Or is it just quiet? I'm just curious because I'm not seeing anyone's chat. Hold on. Let me refresh this. I just don't want to miss anyone. I'm always very concerned about that. All right. Looks like everything seems to be working well. I hope YouTube's not having another issue. That's the only thing. YouTube has a tendency to have a lot of issues when it comes to streams lately. I remember one day the chat just wasn't working at all, which is terrible. So I don't know. If you have a chance, let me know if everything seems to be working okay. So yeah, so let me dive more into the movie Kinds of Kindness, and I'll kind of like break down each of the 3 stories that we've seen here and my takeaways from them all. So you have the first story, which was called, I believe it was called The Death of RMF, something like that. And the story focuses on Jesse Plemons' character, who is this he looks to be kind of like a successful business guy, very well groomed, proper, carries himself very well. Welcome back, T. Well, at least it's nice to see that your chat's working. I don't know if there was an issue with the chat before. And if you're wondering, I'm going to be going into explaining the 3 stories within Kinds of Kindness and kind of my takeaways on it. So hopefully this won't be too much of a spoiler thing for you guys. So you have Jesse Plemons. He's married to Hong Chow, her character there. And this story kind of explains a unique relationship he has with his boss, Willem Dafoe. We learn to find out that in this story, that Willem Dafoe is a very controlling individual who either has a deep romantic relationship with Jesse Plemons' character or a very close business relationship with him. But Willem Dafoe basically dictates the way Jesse Plemons lives his life. You're going to dress up like this today. You're going to eat at these times. You're going to have sex when I tell you you're going to have sex. You're going to come to work at this time. You're going to go home at this time. You're going to spend wife at this time. You're going to read this book and finish these chapters. Like detailed control over this individual. And one of the things that he asked this Jesse Plemons to do is to get into a car crash with this one particular car, with this one individual driving said car. And that person happens to be RMF, the reoccurring character. So you can see Jesse trying it at one point. It didn't work out. Both individuals lived perfectly fine. And that kind of disappointed Willem Dafoe. But Willem Dafoe is like, it's okay, you can make it up to me. There's next Tuesday, you're going to try again. And Jesse was just like, I don't think I want to do this. I don't want to cause harm to anybody. I don't think I can do this. And Willem's like, well, why don't you think about it? Mull it over, get back to me tomorrow and think about it. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to this bar. You're going to have a non-alcoholic drink. You're going to think about it. And then you're going to come to my house and tell me your answer. And it's funny because you see like Jesse Plemons going to the bar. Bartender already waiting for him. It's like, hi, sir, what can I get you? And he tests the theory, right? He's like, I'm going to have a double whiskey on the rocks, blah, 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 this and that. And the bartender is just looking at him like, he's like, haha, I'm just kidding. I'll just have a virgin Bloody Mary. And he's like, excellent, sir. And he already had the drink ready. So everything is really dictated and well laid out for this dude from Willem Dafoe's character, which is so interesting. So Jesse Plemons thinks about it and he goes back to his boss and he's like, I can't do this. This is not something I'm going to be able to do. And Willem's like, well, it hurts me. It breaks my heart. But I think your services are no longer needed. It's been a pleasure. You know, you could keep the house, which it turns out that he even bought the house for him. You could keep the car, again, purchased for him. But this is the end. And you see Jesse is just like, oh, okay, but you know, I've said everything yes to you. This is just one thing I just can't do. I'll do anything else. And Willem's like, no, it's okay. You said what you had to say, and we're done. So Jesse goes to Hong Chao and basically confesses to her because he finds out like now slowly things are changing. The gift that was given to them is now gone from the house. It looks like Willem went into his house and took the gift away. So he confesses to his wife saying, hey, look, this whole life we live is all being dictated by this guy. You know, he told me to do this at this time, to dress up like this, to lose weight like this. He was the one that asked me to actually meet you at that bar when we first met, you know, to the point where I faked an injury so that we can have a conversation. And he also told me to spike your drink so that you wouldn't ever get pregnant. And of course, she gets very upset and she leaves him. So now he's alone. And everything that he was so used to doing has been taken away from him. But you can also see he's struggling to kind of figure things on his own. He goes to a bar, that same bar, and the bartender's like, well, what can I get you? And he's like, I don't know. I don't know what to choose. What do you recommend? You could tell he's having a hard time trying to make decisions on his own. And he's feeling lonely. So he sees Emma Stone, her character, in the bar. But before her, he sees other women. So he tries to do the same faked injury. And each time it just doesn't work. So he actually tries to go back to Willem and grovels. He's like, I'm so sorry. I made a mistake, blah, blah. And it's like, no. You said what you said. You didn't want to do it. We're done. That's it. And you see Jesse is like really, really struggling. So you could see how control plus dependencies is a major theme in here, right? And at the end of the day, Jesse just wants to be appreciated, just wants to be loved, just wants to be a part of something. And he gets close to the Emma Stone's character, doing the same injury. This time he busts his foot on purpose. She helps him out and all this, and they set up a date. He tries to pick her up on the date. Not there. Doesn't show. Texts him the next day. Sorry, I was in an accident. Accident? Oh, that sucks. He tries to visit her at the hospital, sees that Willem Dafoe is there, and Margaret Qualley is there too as another person that's under Willem's control. He's like, wait a minute, what's happening here? So it turns out that she's doing the same stuff for Willem Dafoe, right? She did the car crash that Jesse didn't want to do. But guess what? RMF still survived. So what does Jesse do? In the most gruesome and most dark comedy way possible, he gets the poor dude out of the hospital, throws him onto the ground in the parking lot, and runs him over twice, ensuring that he is completely taken out of the picture. Then he goes running back to Willem Dafoe, crying, and say, I'm so sorry, but I did it. I did it. I did what was asked. And Willem's like, oh, my boy, I knew you wouldn't disappoint me. Blah, 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 this and that. And they become one happy family all over again. And it's just such a bizarre tale about control, dependency, love, wanting to be loved, wanting to be a part of something. And yeah, that's how that short story went. What's going on, everybody? Again, I haven't ignored anyone. I'm just, briefly talking about the kinds of kindness, the stories within there. So if there's anything that anyone wants to talk about or chat about, don't hesitate to let me know. I hope everyone's enjoying their day and enjoying the stream so far. If you are new and tuning in for the first time, hit that like button. Helps with the algorithm, helps grow this community. I hope you guys don't get sick of hearing that, but it's always something that I have to remind myself to remind others. So the second story here in Kinds of Kindness is, I believe, titled The Flight of RMF. So you have Jesse Plemons once again being center focus here, plays a police officer who is very distraught that his wife has disappeared. The wife is played by Emma Stone, and apparently she is like some scientist who went on some expedition and their whole team disappeared. No trace of her, but you can tell he's having a hard time trying to figure out and deal with the situation. And one of the funniest lines in this whole movie is in the beginning of this short story where you see Jesse Plemons with someone that he arrested. And he's looking at the guy he arrested and he's like caressing his face, moving the hair aside. And the police chief is talking to his partner and saying, this dude has issues. We need to figure out what's going on. Maybe he needs a break because look at what he's doing right now. He's looking at this guy he just arrested as if they just fucked for the first time. And they're trying to have a romantic conversation after having sex. And the way it was delivered, that whole like kind of line, that speech, was so freaking hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing. It was just so funny. But yeah, it turns out that, wife lost at sea, doesn't know, he's having a hard time dealing with it and all. And, his partner, who's like a close friend of his, that is the actor Mamoudou Athie, who plays the partner who's married to Margaret Qualley in this short story. And they're having dinner at his house, trying to cheer him up. And he mentions this one thing, which is really hilarious. He's like, hey, thank you guys for, dealing with me and trying to comfort me. Do you mind if we watch the videotape? Because it will really help me ease my grief and all that. And they're both like, I don't know now if it's a good time to watch the video and all that. It's like, please. And they're like, okay, fine. They could tell that he's really struggling. And if it will make him happy, then yes, we'll watch the tape. Guess what? And I kind of had a feeling it was going to lead to this. And the minute you saw it on TV, it was hilarious. Apparently, all four of them had a foursome. So it's a tape they video recorded. They taped themselves all having sex together. It was just the funniest thing. And you see Jesse Plemons watching this thing because he's sad, but he's happy because he gets to see his wife. And the other two are just like, oh, this is so uncomfortable. And one of them is just like, hey, do you mind if you put the volume lower? And they're just having the most hardcore sex on this thing. It's just so bizarre. So the story takes a weird twist where Emma Stone shows up. She is found and she gets flown in through by a helicopter. They found like a wreckage or something. She made it out. One of her colleagues made it. Everyone else died, right? But she's flown into and guess who's flying the helicopter? RMF. That dude is the helicopter pilot. They later in the short story, they have a ceremony where he gets an award for finding them and rescuing them. And that's how we get the clarification that this is the RMF guy. But, she shows up. And, of course, Jesse is very happy. Willem Dafoe plays her dad. But she seems to be odd. And Jesse is convinced that this is not the same woman. You could tell because she struggles putting on her shoes. Like her shoes are too tight. She seems to be carrying on in a way that's very different. It was established that she's not a big fan of chocolate. But yet when she shows up back in the home, the first thing she wants to eat is chocolate. So again, it's very contradictory, right? And Jesse is worried that this is not his wife. He's convinced that this is someone different. And he's kind of having like somewhat of a mental breakdown. He's not eating. He's not wanting to spend much time with her. And she doesn't know what to do. All she wants to do is make him happy, right? So in a weird way, in a weird twist, he's like, one day he says, I am hungry. Oh, wait, before that, I should mention that he loses his phone. He's accusing her of stealing his phone. And during a routine stop with his partner, he accuses the person who is speeding and running a red light taking his phone. And he's like, how'd you get my phone? And that's not your phone, dude. And he accidentally shoots a guy in the hand doing this whole thing. And because of that, he sees a doctor. These guys put him on medication to try to make him cope and deal with whatever he's going through. So he finally goes up to Emma and is like, I'm hungry today. I want to eat. And it's like, sure, I'll make you something. It's like, yeah, I want meat, but not the stuff you just bought. You know what will make me happy? If you could cut off your finger or your thumb, saute it with some cauliflower, and that's something I definitely want to eat. And she's like, what? And you could see her in like these scenes and these moments, kind of like, what do I do? You know, is this normal? Should I accept this? But again, she just wants to be loved. Notice the themes happening here. She wants to be accepted, and she wants to make him happy. So she goes ahead and decides to cut her thumb off. And she sautés it, cauliflower, gives it to him to prove her kind of love and loyalty. And he uses this in a twist that when he talks to the doctor, he says that his wife is losing his mind. That his wife was the one who decided to cut her thumb off and cook it for him to eat. And he didn't eat it, but the cat ate it. You know, so he's not telling the doctor that he's telling her to do these things. But it's her that's the crazy one. So it's such a weird thing. And all throughout this whole thing, he's still not convinced that this is his wife. And his wife tells an interesting story about when she was kind of abandoned on this island with whoever was there. And all she could do was think about sex. And, you know, she would masturbate, and, you know, she was eating raw fish. But on the island was run by dogs. And the dogs were the people. And they, the humans that were kind of abandoned or left there, were the animals. And the dogs were like living like humans and had, you know, everything like humans. It was such an interesting thing. And of course, Jesse's hearing this is just like, this guy's, you know, she's nuts. She's definitely someone different. So one day, he goes to her and say, hey, you know what? I'm hungry. I'm very famished. This time, can you do me a favor? Can you like cut out your liver and cook that for me? Again, you're like, there's no way she's going to do this, right? But lo and behold, we see her slumped over in a chair, pool of blood, knife in hand, liver on the floor, and she actually did it. But now she's dead, right? Obviously. Jesse Plemons comes down, sees this happening, and then he goes to the door, opens the door, and what? Another Emma Stone pops up, and he embraces her and is happy, and they start dancing. Looks like his real wife finally shows up. And credits. And then during this credit montage, each short story had a credit montage. And each short story had kind of like a little ending thing. And in this ending credits montage, they cut to a scene of dogs in black and white living like humans. So you see dogs in a car driving around. You see dogs having sex on a bed like humans do. A dog committing, like, killing himself out of depression. Dogs just doing random human things as if to kind of play on the fact that this was like the dream that Emma Stone had. But of course, the big question is the person that showed up, did all of this really happen? Or is this all within the mind of Jesse Plemons, right? What's happening here? Was there really a weird doppelganger body snatcher situation happening? Did Emma Stone kill herself, or was the real wife the one we saw showing up at the door later on? Who knows? Again, very Twilight Zone like, and it was such an interesting short story there. Alex, sorry I missed your chat. I can't wait for the final season of Stranger Things. I'm a huge Stranger Things fan. I love Stranger Things. I can't wait for the final season. I hope it's going to be epic. I also think it's time to end the show because all the kids are getting way too old, and it's kind of hard to believe that they're still in high school. So yeah, I'm a huge Stranger Things fan, and I can't wait for that to come out. So what about you? I'm pretty. Are you a big Stranger Things fan? So yeah. So in the last short story here of Kinds of Kindness is now centers around Emma Stone, and we learned that there is this cult that is apparently they're looking for the chosen one or a messiah-like figure that has the ability to bring people back to life. And we see Jesse Plemons, who is like one of the followers of this cult, Emma Stone, who is also a follower. They are the ones on the lookout, on the search for whoever this person is. They're interviewing someone, and it's female. So whoever this person is, female. She's taking measurements, she's checking all the things, and then she brings her to a morgue to see if she could actually bring someone to life. And it doesn't work out. She didn't make the cut. That's it. They move on. And we see her and them going back to the said cult. Willem Dafoe is the leader of the cult, along with Hong Chau, who's kind of like her partner. And it looks like everyone's having sex with these guys. So Emma is gonna have sex with him, and Jesse Plemons is going to do it also. But there has to be a certain initiation to determine who can have sex with who, and how many times, and how freely they can. So it's such an interesting cult going on here. But at the same time, everyone in this cult is so enthralled and so believing in it that they only drink the water that they produce there within the cult that has the tears of each Willem Dafoe and Hong Chau. So they have this weird ceremony where they have a pool of water, and Willem Dafoe and Hong Chau cry in it. And this is the water that they drink, and it's the only thing that they ever drink. So they always carry around like buckets of water wherever they go. We also learned that Emma Stone is still new to the club, and she is, I guess, trying to get in good favor with them and initiate this ritual of finding the Messiah, and that will help solidify her status within the cult. But it looks like she left behind a family, a husband, a child, who she secretly visits, leaves presents for the daughter, but during one visit, she gets caught. Father sees her, daughter sees her, and you could tell that she still loves the daughter, but there's some weird kind of distance that she has with the family in general. They're inviting her to have dinner, and she's like, I don't know, we'll see. I'm kind of busy and all that. And she's still out there looking for whoever this Messiah is. And Jesse's like, if you're going to visit your family, I won't say anything. Feel free. You can go ahead and do that. But she's like, no, I'm not doing that. Not doing that at all. So they get a hint that maybe there is this potential Messiah somewhere nearby who happens to be a twin sister of this girl that they meet in a diner, who's played by Margaret Qualley. Because I guess that's one of the prerequisites. Whoever this Messiah is has to be female, has to be a twin, and the other twin has to be deceased. That's basically some of the requirements there, amongst other things with like measurements and whatever the case is. So before they go and look this out, she once again goes back to visits the home, her past home. And she once again gets caught. And she's like, hey, you should join us for dinner, blah, 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 this and that. And as she was taking a break from the duties of the cult, Jesse comes up with a fever. He's sick, so they're resting at home. She decides to go back and say hi to the daughter because the daughter really wants to see her for dinner. Unfortunately, she was late. The daughter's now asleep. The daughter apparently hurt her foot. That's why she wanted to make sure that the daughter was okay. And the husband is like, hey, why don't you just stay for a drink and just hang out for a bit? Now, the husband secretly drugs her drink and she passes out. She gets sick and passes out and does this very disturbing thing where he has sex with her while she's knocked out. She got roofied. And then she wakes up the next morning in the bed with him. And she's freaking out. She wakes up, she showers, she cleans herself. And then when she leaves the house, bam, Willem Dafoe, Hung Chow, Jesse Plemons is there waiting for her. Like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. So one of the prerequisites of being part of this cult is like you have to be kind of free of disease, free of contamination, as they call it. And the way they test it is that they put you in a sauna at the highest temperature possible, and they make you sweat until you can't take it anymore. And Hung Chow, I guess, is the medium who can taste your sweat and determine whether or not you're contaminated. So they do this to Emma's character. Take her out. They do the test. Uh-oh, she didn't pass. She's contaminated. Unfortunately, because she was defiled by the husband, she's now fully contaminated. She has to be kicked out of the cult. And she's flipping out. She's like, I'm so sorry. That wasn't my fault. They give her some money. They're like, hey, good luck. We are sad to see you go. And she is so distraught. And now she lost what she really wanted to be a part of. Which was going to be, I guess, a new family. And she's so upset and she's so mad. And she doesn't know what to do with herself anymore. She's lost. And she decides, like, wait a minute. I was hinted on the possibility of there being this girl who has the potential to be the quote-unquote Messiah, right? And she meets up with the sister who's telling the story. It's like, yeah, one day I was hanging out with my sister and some friends. We got drunk. I accidentally fell in the pool that was empty. I almost died, but because of her, she saved my life. That's why I think she's the person you're looking for. She's a veterinarian. So what does Emma Stone do? She finds a dog randomly out in the street, cuts the dog, brings it to her to see if she heals the dog. And guess what? She does. So she's like, oh my God, she's the one. I found her. But how do I get her? How do I bring her to this cult, right? So she goes secretly to visit this sister. And mind you, the other sister, knowing that the prerequisite was that she had to be deceased, decides to pretty much take her own life in the same manner and dive into the empty pool. And this time, no one there to save her, right? So she goes, visits the other girl, and she has one of those kind of anesthesia pens, right, to knock her out. But she presents a gift saying, oh, I wanted to thank you so much for helping my dog, blah, blah, blah. Here's a scarf I gave you. Do you mind if you try it on? I want to kind of see if you put it on, blah, blah, this and that. Bam, injects her, right? So she gets knocked out. And now she runs the test. She does the measurements, all this stuff. Everything seems to be working out. She basically rolls her body into a wheelchair. And then they go to the morgue. Same morgue that the story started on. They go into the dead body, and she's telling her, she's trying to wake her up. It's like, put your hands on this guy, say these words, do it, do it, do it, do it. And, Margaret Scarlett is like out of it. zoned out, right? But hands are on, and guess what? Bam, dead body rises. And who's the dead body? RMF, the same reoccurring character in all three stories. Emma is elated. She did it. I found it. This led to the infamous dance sequence that you've seen in the trailers, that you saw in the beginning of the stream, because she's excited. And this is when the credits start playing. So apparently this is the end of the story. She's excited. She found this chosen one, and she thinks now this is her ticket back to the cult, because now she's going to bring her to them. Credits end. You think this is the end of the entire movie, but it's not. You see Emma driving in the car, girl in the back, slowly waking up. And Emma's so busy focusing on her, making sure she's okay, because this is precious cargo now. She gets into a car accident. Margaret's body flies through this windshield. And Emma's like, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? And the end of the movie is basically Margaret's really torn and battered face laying over the windshield in front of the car. And that's it. And that's basically how the movie ends. So it's like a bittersweet ending, because if you notice, like at the end of every short story, Jesse Plemons in the first one was able to get acceptance, brought back in, gets the love that he wanted, back into the fold. Second story, reunites with his wife, finally, the real wife, and they live in happily ever after. Here, you thought, oh, look, Emma's going to have her moment. She's going to be extremely happy, live happily ever after. Nope. Not this time. And it looks like she's going to find herself back where things started and kind of shit out of luck, so to speak. So yeah, so those are the three short stories of Kinds of Kindness, and it was just brilliant. It was just so entertaining, so much fun. I enjoyed every minute of it. But like I said, it's not going to be for everyone, but that's basically how everything turned out. And yeah, it's interesting to, when you sit down and think about it, all the different connections. Well, not really connections, but the themes, the interesting themes that you get to see and have explored in each of the short stories. And there is a post-credit scene where the credits roll, and RMF, you see him, the same RMF from the first short story, sitting down, eating a sandwich, and just having a hard time with the sandwich. Ketchup gets spilled on his shirt, and he's trying so hard to wipe the ketchup off. Didn't really mean anything, but I feel like this is just a little extra thing that Yorgos put in there to kind of be like, I don't know, I like this guy, I think he's funny, and I think this will be really hilarious. So there you go. So that is everything in a nutshell in regarding Kinds of Kindness. So I think I talked a lot here. Alex saying, a big fan, especially the character plays Metallica music. Munson. Yeah, you're talking about Joseph Quinn's character? Yeah, no, that character was great. He died, right, in season 4, if I remember correctly, which was unfortunate. But he made his death count, at least. I kind of wish they didn't do that, because it would have been great to see him continue on in the next season. But yeah, if you like Joseph Quinn, I think you're going to like him in the new Quiet Place movie, because he's really, really good in this movie. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. Also, everyone who's watching, let me know if you're planning on watching anything this weekend, any new movies, are any of the new movies I'm talking about today, any of those are going to be something you're going to be watching this weekend? Let me know. I would love to know. Give me one moment. I am just checking my phone to make sure the world around me isn't burning up. So as I do that, this is what I like to call phone checking music. Phone checking music. I'm here on the phone, checking my notifications. What's going on? How's everyone doing today? Let me know how everyone is. Also, don't forget, if you are tuning in for the first time, don't forget, hit that like button. Would greatly appreciate it. I think I already mentioned how excited I am personally because I just got this and I can't wait to watch this. Hopefully, I'll have a chance this weekend to watch it. But I'm a huge fan of Paul Verhoeven's Total Recall. So excited for that. What are some of the special features on this? Let's see. Brand new 4K special features, Total Excess, How Karolko Changed Hollywood documentary, Open Your Mind, scoring the Total Recall, Dreamers Within the Dream, developing the Total Recall. Then there's a special effects feature, Making of Total Recall feature, Imagining Total Recall documentary. Oh, look at that. I didn't even know this. And this is why I love physical media, because again, you don't get this a lot when you stream movies, but this has audio commentary with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Paul Verhoeven. Now that is fascinating. What's going on, Arnold? He is back. How was your McDonald's? You're asking me to sit still. Am I moving a lot? I hope you had a good time with your burger there, Arnold. I'm gonna be having probably some burgers tomorrow. One of the things I'm doing this weekend is that I am having a barbecue at my friend's house, and we are celebrating his son's high school graduation. So I can't wait to hang out with everybody there tomorrow. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be amazing burgers and hot dogs and all that stuff tomorrow. So I can't wait for that. T is getting ready to get off work. T, if you don't mind sharing with us, what is it that you do for work? You don't have to be specific. You don't have to tell us like the company or anything, but what is it that you do? Arnold wants to come too. Come along. Burger time in Long Island. That's where I'll be. By the way, I have to say something real quick. This just triggered something in my mind. And I figured, maybe some of you will be interested in hearing about this. So I've mentioned before, I'm on the dating apps, right? And I connected with someone on the dating apps. And, she seems nice. She's the one that actually reached out to me, right? She seems nice. I feel like we could get along. So we exchanged I sent her a message, and then she sent a message back to me, right? And the first thing that she asked me, she's like, do you drive? Do you own a car? And she's like, I asked that because I find myself in Long Island often. So I wrote back and I said, oh, what a coincidence. I was in Long Island the weekend before. I'm going to be there again this weekend. And I do drive. I do have a car. Most of my friends are in Long Island. Blah, blah, blah. This and that. And, I asked, like, what brings you to Long Island often? And she wrote back and she said, a lot of her friends are there. And she finds that there are a lot of nice spots in Long Island, for date spots and all. So I kind of like hanging out there. And then she followed up by saying, and I hope the next message I get from you is a setup for a phone call, because I don't like all the back and forth or whatever. right? And if that's not something you want to do, then I wish you the best of luck out there. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. And then I got busy. I didn't have a chance to write back, but I was like, you know what? I appreciate that. I appreciate people who just want to get it out of the way. Let's talk. Let's see if there's something here, and then we move on. So later on that day, I already read the message, and I was going to reply later on and agree and say, yeah, let's talk on the phone. I go back on the app. Message is gone. She's gone. Totally no longer connected. And I'm like, huh? Why do people do that? Are you looking for like that instant answer, that instant satisfaction? Are you not patient? Did you just all of a sudden decide to delete your profile? Because this happened to me quite a lot. It's like, why would you suggest doing something, not wait for a reply and just leave or not match with me anymore? It's so bizarre. It baffles my mind. The whole dating app thing, the whole dating world it's weird, it's interesting, and it sucks. It really, really sucks. And no, Arnold is not a guy. But yeah, it's terrible. You know. Alex saying my associate word graduation is Kanye album. Kanye's graduation album is a great album. That's when I actually really liked Kanye. During those years. Before he went nuts. Before we got the Kanye that we got now. But yeah, I just wanted to share that because the whole Long Island thing kind of like spurred that memory. But it's so bizarre what people do. Oh, Arnold, I know you're joking. I know that. Ooh. I don't know if that came through on the mic, but I felt like every bone in my back just cracked. But also, it's funny talking about music. The one thing I forgot to mention in regards to kinds of kindness is whatchamacallit. In the trailers and even at the beginning of the movie, they play that Eurythmics song, Sweet Dreams. You know, sweet dreams are made of these. And there's a line in that song which is very, very important when it comes to this movie. And there's a line that Annie Lennox says where it's like, everybody's looking for something. That is a very good description of each of the short stories that we see in this movie. Because it does seem like everyone is looking for something. Whether it's belonging, love, connection, acceptance. Each of the main characters in each of those short stories is looking for that. So that was a very smart choice for Yorgos to add that music as part of the movie. I'll say you don't care about buying a cat. What did someone mention about buying cats? Or owning a cat? Dreams come true. Yes, Alex, I like to think dreams do come true. Honestly, I had a date. She meant to me, she's into sex with several guys. My answer was, nice day. Oh, so she's just like, she was just not someone who liked to commit. Or as they're calling it now, they're polyamorous. That's a big thing nowadays. It's something that I see on these dating apps quite a bit, where you have a lot of women, guys I think have always been like this, but a lot of people on these apps who are into multiple sex partners. That seems to be a big thing nowadays. It's so weird. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't want to shame anyone on what they want to do. No kink shaming, no anything like that. Everyone has their preferences. As long as you communicate them in advance, as long as whoever you're with is on board with that type of preference, and you're not hurting anyone, not forcing anyone to do anything that they don't want to do, right? Um, I don't shame that. I don't say anything. But for me, that's just not who I am, right? At least not anymore. Honestly, I don't know. She wants an open relationship. Yeah, that seems to be happening a lot these days. There are a lot of I'm seeing that a lot, honestly. Alex likes the effects. Thank you so much. Unlike the other guy previously who said the soundboard wasn't necessary. Goes to show you they don't know what they're talking about, damn it. Arnold, you mentioned before that you saw the first Quiet Place. Did you see Quiet Place 2 also? The second one? Because we're going to be talking about this new movie, Quiet Place Day 1, in a little bit. Immediately, a woman in the bikini behind you appears on your Playboy. It reminds me of like that SNL skit, because this is Emma Stone, right? And I think Emma Stone is great. She was on Saturday Night Live and she played a character on someone's poster, and all of them kind of like would become alive and start talking to the guy in the room. So the way what you just said kind of reminded me of something like that. It's kind of funny. So Arnold, you like the second one better? Yeah. So all right. So let's talk about A Quiet Place. So, like I mentioned before, John Krasinski, I think, did an interesting thing, came up with this interesting premise and world within the Quiet Place universe. I love the idea of these aliens, these creatures, crash land on Earth, wreaking havoc, mainly because, they seem to be very vicious and their sensitivity is sound. It looks like that's the only sense that they have. They can't see, they can't smell, but they can hear. And what they are attracted to what they hear, and whatever they hear, they destroy, right? So the first movie introduced us obviously to this family, and the great premise of the first one was you have one person, individual, who cannot hear. So again, play on sound, play on how listening is very important. Brilliant performances between Krasinski, Emily Blunt, the kids involved. Really great performances all over there. And it was very much focused and centered on this one family, right? In their little farmhouse and how they deal with it. And then they come up with, and they find this revelation that this hearing aid or hearing device creates a certain frequency that really bothers these creatures, right? And we learned that throughout the whole movie, John's character is trying to find a way to fix whatever's wrong with this hearing device because it's not working. So the daughter just cannot hear sounds or recognize sounds. Everything around her is just blank, right? So when the daughter realizes this, it becomes a weapon. And they find a way to kind of use this as a weapon to fight off against these aliens. And what I love about how he ends movies is that it ends in like a cliffhanger way, not hinting that there's a sequel, but hanging in a way that's just like, oh, I wonder what happens next. And it kind of leaves up to your own imagination. So you could see, like, unfortunately, dad dies, sacrifices himself to save the kids. And that was the big thing here. It's like it was the parents and the adults trying to save the kids. And they're all in this basement. You know, the new baby was born. So you have the son, the baby, the daughter, the mom, shotgun in hand, looks at the daughter. It's like, well, you know what to do. Let's go. And that's how the movie ends. And I thought it was like a brilliant way to end the movie. Only an hour and a half long movie too. So it goes like this, and it's a great pace all throughout. Arnold's saying that he wouldn't survive in a world like this for a second. If people with allergies that would have one of the brilliant things that they did here in day one is having it in New York. And I'll tell you why. Because New York is a very loud city. So obviously it's like a perfect setting for something like this. But then we get Quiet Place Part 2 that came out during the pandemic, right? Didn't it come out like in 2020? Like around 2020 or 2021? And I remember watching this in the theater. It's like one of the first movies I saw back in the movie theater. And it literally picks up exactly after the first movie. So what's left of the family, they move on. They're trying to find help and assistance in another community, or they're trying to at least reach out to other communities. They come across Cillian Murphy, who happened to be a friend of the family. We get this nice little throwback scene of day one, but within this town that they live in, within this little city that they live in, when all the events happen. And you could see how the friends dynamic were there, how everyone was kind of like a community, and then how things affected the community when these aliens started popping up and all. Great camera effects, great illusions, great intro to all the craziness that happened as things were unveiling in this little town of theirs. And this movie is basically a test for the kids to mature and grow up and see what they can do to help the parents, right? You have the daughter who's so hell-bent in trying to find a way to fight off these creatures. And she wants to let everybody know. She's convinced that this frequency thing will help. They find that there's a broadcast signal, right, that is still active. And now she wants to find that so that maybe she could broadcast this frequency to kind of spread all over and affect the aliens and have people, give people a chance to kind of fight off these aliens. And Cillian Murphy is dealing with the fact that he lost his entire family, his kids, his wife, and he just wants to be alone. And he thinks that this, having all of these people around him, is a burden. But this is his redemption moment, where now he wasn't able to do much of anything for his own family, but he has the chance now to not only save this family, but maybe to save a whole lot of other people, right? So he helps the daughter find this frequency, and that's where you find that there's this big community, and Jamin Hansu is a part of this community, which is a nice little thing that we get to see again here in the new movie. And it ends in a very similar way like the first movie, where the daughter realizes she has to do this thing, big, like, standoff or whatever. And then she gets a chance to broadcast the frequency. They get to fight off the aliens, and parallel to that, the son, who is always scared, always frightened, now has his moment where he could save his mom and the new baby. With the frequency going on, he realizes it's going on in the radio, turns on the radio, fights off the alien, shoots the alien in the head, and saves the mom and the baby. And so both kids were able to save everyone around them, mainly adults, and that's how the movie ends, right? So all smart things there. Let's see. Arnold, what makes no sense to me, the world goes so broken, there'd be no animals. They live to make noise. Well, we saw that in the first movie. If you remember, in the first movie, there were these raccoons that were like walking around, and they attracted one of the creatures, and they ended up killing those raccoons, right? But I think what's also happening here is that these monsters, they learn that if certain noises are just constant noises, right? That's why bodies of water, waterfalls, somehow got used to that, and they realize that these are not living things. That's why if you're within water behind a waterfall, you can make all the noise you want. They won't be able to recognize it. In the second movie, they play with the same concept where the sprinklers go off, and now they're surrounded by noise. And this one alien could not differentiate what's going on around him because it's just constant noise happening, right? But I think, when it comes to other animal noise, they know that's why you don't really hear a lot of animals in the world, at least in the first two movies. Which now leads us to this movie, A Quiet Place Day One, starring Lupita Nyong'o, Joseph Quinn. And the premise here is we are going to see exactly what happened on day one of this. Do you call it an invasion? A freak accident where maybe parts of a planet where these creatures are from crash landed on Earth and then just had them run free? I don't know what you call it. But when the events started happening, and it centers around Lupita Nyong'o's character, who we see is in a hospice hospital because she's dealing with cancer, and you could tell she's not very happy, right? And she is not happy to be there. She's not happy with her illness, and she's basically counting the days of her demise. And to kind of, lighten things up, they decide to take a road trip to the city. So they go into Manhattan, Chinatown to be specific, and they go watch a show. And it's at this show where we see Jamin Hansu and his family for the first time. She always has a cat with her named Frodo. Very, very fitting name, I think, for this cat in this movie, because Frodo tends to go on adventures a lot in this movie. And one of the big stipulations is that she is going to be back in the city. She really wants to get a slice of pizza. It is paramount. It is important for her to get a slice of pizza. So what if I told you that the main premise and plot of this movie is that you have Lupita Nyong'o on a mission for a New York slice of pizza? If I left it at that, and you see what's happening in this movie, I'm sure this would be like, what are you talking about? This sounds like the dumbest thing I've ever heard, right? But there is meaning behind all of that. And we learn more and more about why she is so insistent, why it is so important for her to get this damn slice of pizza from this one particular place in Harlem. Now, to give you a sense of the landscape, Chinatown is probably southernmost Manhattan. Harlem is almost the most northern tip of Manhattan. So you're asking to go across this island, which would probably take you on foot 48 hours, nonstop maybe, right? So it's a long journey, right? But we get to see the events happen and unfold with all the asteroids or whatever things crash landing. And again, brilliant place to display this because New York is a very loud city. The movie opens up with the cityscape of New York with a little message with a blurb that says, New York City has an average decibel rate of 90, which is very similar or can be compared to a scream that doesn't end, like a long-lasting scream from a human, from a person. And I was like, what a perfect setting, and what a perfect premise, because sound's going to be very important in this movie. And the one thing that the city can't do, it can't shut up, right? You have horns honking, you have the ambulances, you have the police cars, you have people, you have the trains. You have the airplanes, you have everything in the city. So, of course, obviously, when all this happens, it's just mayhem. And it was so amazing to see all of this happening. but scary at the same time, right? And people learn slowly but surely that sound is very important. And Lupita spends the first part of the movie in this theater where they were in hiding, trying to figure out what's going on around them, right? The army is destroying all the bridges coming in and out of the city because one, they don't want the aliens or creatures leaving the city. Plus, they also learned that they can't swim. And we kind of saw that in the first two movies. So we get to see where that whole idea is. And they're using helicopters flying aboard with these loud speakers telling people and giving people updates. Stay inside. Don't go out. They're attracted to sound. Don't make noises. But yet here they are, kind of ironically, making all of this noise, forcing all of these aliens and monsters to just follow wherever the noise is going, right? So it causes a lot of havoc. But Lupita realizes that she can't stay there. She has to leave. You know, first of all, she needs medication because as she explains in one scene, it always feels like her muscles are burning up. And she needs to make it to Harlem because she has to get herself a slice of pizza from Patsy's in Harlem. Again, weird premise. You're like, what a driving force. Why is that so important? So, as she's, going through the city, she comes across these kids. She tries to save the kids. One of the worst things I saw was you had this parade of people marching down the street, right? Because they were told by these loudspeakers, go down to the South Street Seaport. We are evacuating everyone. Blah, blah, blah. They can't swim. Water, water, water. Now, what makes you think being close to a huge parade of people would be smart? I saw this and I said, this is a bad idea. Because if one person makes one noise, everyone's catching the business. That's it. But, people don't think, right? So Lupita told the kids, go to the South Street Seaport. And she is still heading north. Why she thought it was a good idea to walk against the crowd? Story, right? You need something to get excited about. You need something to scare you. And of course, what happens? You have people dragging freaking luggage. It's making noise. You have people in wheelchairs making noise. You have people stepping on broken glass. It's making noise. All the footsteps are making noise. Bam! Here comes the aliens. And it becomes pandemonium once again. And now they have a sea of people they could just wreck shop in. Stupid. Stupid. So that forces Lupita to hide in an alley. Frodo the cat runs off, right? Which is an important moment because Frodo is the one who finds Joseph Quinn's character, who is just emerging from one of the subway stations that is completely underwater. And he is in fear. He doesn't know what's happening, but he sees the cat, and the cat looks at him almost as if to say, are you okay? And Joseph's like, I'm good. Oh my God, you're like a symbol. So he follows the cat where the cat goes. The cat eventually finds Lupita Nyong'o. Joseph's just staring at her and them. And she's like, I gotta go get some pizza. And he's like, well, I'm gonna go with you because I don't want to be alone. I have no family here. I'm from England. My parents are there. I'm just here for law school. That's it. She's like, fine, you can come with me, you annoying idiot. And then we get to see their journey. And we learned that the important reason why Lupita had to go to Harlem was because her dad used to be a jazz musician who played in this place, just jazz club, right next to Patsy's. And It was always a fond memory of hers to watch her dad play. Then afterwards, they will go get some pizza. And she knows she's dying. So she wants at least one of her last memories to be experiencing that pizza, to go to those places, to appreciate those moments she had when she was a kid. If that was going to be her last dying wish, that's what she wants to do. And, Joseph understands that, helps her out, makes the journey. She, in turn, encourages Joseph to continue and move on, jump on one of those boats and get the hell out of town. And she'll sacrifice herself to do so because she's going anyway. And the movie basically ends with Joseph hopping on the boat with Jom and Hansu, Frodo in tow, so the cat still lives. And, Lupita being able to experience not so much Patsy's Pizza because that was a wreck, but Joseph found another local pizza place, got her some pizza. They get to, share it. But you have a closing narration of hers where she's basically walking around the city and she's like, it was nice for me to remember the city once again and how beautiful it is when it's so quiet. And of course, at that very moment, she's listening to music in her headset. She takes out the headset. Now it's blasting on these speakers. Alien drops on behind her. Bam, movie ends. That's it. Very, very common, just like the first two movies. And that is Quiet Place Day One. So overall, I found this movie to be extremely enjoyable. It was a lot of fun. It was very creepy, very scary. A lot of jump scares. And I'm not a huge fan of that, but these were very effective. Is it a necessary story to tell? I don't personally think so, but it gives us another perspective. If you're a fan of this universe, if you're a fan of the world, to see how a major metropolitan city dealt with this type of situation that's happening. What I would like to see them do, if this is going to continue, is how would this have been in other countries, right? Let's go to Canada. Let's go to Japan. Let's go to, Australia, Africa, China. How would these other countries and societies and cultural differences, how will they treat moments like this? I think it will be fascinating to see. I love the tie of Jom and Hansu's character, how we got to get to see how he started when all this happened, up until the point to when we see him in part 2. Nothing really new as far as revelation of the creatures are concerned, with the exception of there was this one point Joseph Quinn goes to this place because he's chasing after Frodo, because Frodo loves venturing out there. And they get to this one area that looked almost like a nest for these creatures. You had a lot of these weird, little ball-like things. And one of these creatures was opening up one of the balls. And very much like Jurassic Park, where the raptors are able to communicate with each other, you had the creature going, arr, 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 doing one of those things, and all of these other ones came over, and as if it was dinner time, and they all started eating, which is something we've never seen. So we did get to see a little bit more exploration as to what these monsters are and what they do, or kind of how they carry themselves, which was fascinating. So at least we got a little bit something new there. But yeah, it was a very fun time. This is one of those movies you should watch in the movie theater because the sound plays a very heavy part in it. It's so fascinating to me whenever you're watching a movie and the entire audience is silent because they're just hanging on to everything that's happening. There's a lot of anxiety watching this movie. It's a lot of thrills that happen. They have parts that happen in the subway system, parts that happen above ground, all over the place. The climactic moment of Joseph Quinn chasing down that boat was very, very exciting and thrilling. So yeah, it was fun for me to watch. I really appreciated it. On Letterboxd, I'll give this a 4 out of 5 stars. I don't think it's as good as the first one. Personally, my ranking of the Quiet Place movies is Quiet Place 1, Quiet Place 2, and then now Quiet Place Day One. So basically the order that they came out. I don't have it on Letterbox, but the first one I would rank 5 out of 5 stars. Second one 4 out of 5. Third one 4 out of 5. So that's my thoughts and feelings about Quiet Place and all that. But I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It was so good. Lupita and Joseph Quinn's chemistry were pretty good. You know, I really believe that those are two people that can help each other out in this type of situation. Joseph Quinn, the more and more I see this guy act, the more and more I like him. I think he's a brilliant actor. I hope I could see more of him. And Lupita's Lupita. I mean, she's just really good in whatever she does. And Jamin, it's just good to see him. You know, he doesn't really get a lot of major roles, but I just think it's really, really good to see him every time he gets a chance to show up in any movie or whatever he does. So yeah, so I really, really like this movie. And I have a feeling it's going to do well this weekend. I'm estimating or guessing box office wise domestically, it's probably going to do 30 to 40 million this weekend. If it does more than that, fantastic. It deserves it. But we'll see come Monday as to what it does opening weekend there. So those are the two movies that I saw yesterday. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to me talk about them. And I'm curious if any of those movies sound fascinating and interesting to all of you, and if you're planning to watch any of them anytime soon. And if you're watching again live, please don't forget, hit that like button. Help support the channel by doing so. Greatly, greatly appreciated. All right. Let me get back to the chat here. I apologize if I missed anything. Arnold saying, fuck, my ex would survive, which sounds like a goat. What would you do if there's an apocalypse like that? People become a kind of zombie or something like that. I thought about that. Arnold. Scorch, by the way, what was the other one? So I just talked about Quiet Place Day 1. The other movie I talked about was Kinds of Kindness, the latest Yorgos Lanthimos movie. Just to quickly summarize, 3 short stories, anthology movie, well written, well directed, great acting across the board, a very, very dark humor, which I personally appreciate. I think most people who like Poor Things may not like this one because it's going to be too weird, and there's not one continuous storyline, but it's very Yorgos, and I really liked it, so I gave that a 4 out of 5 stars. What would I do in an apocalypse? So I thought about this, especially where I currently live right now, because I'm on the top floor of a building. I have a balcony that has a view of the city skyline, and I'm in a very end of the floor that I'm in. So I think one of the things I would think about is, how can I survive without anyone coming into my place? There's a definite way you could blockade the hall, and there's a lot of room in the hall that will allow me to put necessary blockade so that no zombies or whatever can make their way to where I am right now. It helps that I live close to my mom. For now, we are in the middle of moving her. So at least I have 2 units to account for. The other one across, not so much. So hopefully they're cool and they're not stupid. I think, and I'm convinced, I could build a zip line from my balcony to the street down below. So if I needed to go out and explore and get supplies, I think I could easily do that. I don't have any weapons per se. I do have a lot of BB guns. So I would need to figure out how am I going to do that. I do know how to shoot, though. I've been to gun ranges, and I've been told I'm a good shot. So at least I have that going for me. Water, I could collect water from the balcony whenever it rains. Food, maybe I can grow some stuff on the balcony. I don't know. Hunting, I wouldn't say I'm a good hunter, so I would need to figure that stuff out. And since I do have a balcony, I could, start fires to cook things and all that. So I think I could survive for a little bit, but I know after a while it's going to be very tight and I would need to venture out. I do have a car, so I can drive somewhere, but like Scorch said, gas is going to be important. So I'm going to have to learn how to cipher gas from other cars or somehow secure gas. There's a gas station literally like 3 blocks away from me. So if somehow by some miracle their supplies don't run out, I could maybe try to get some gas from there. But we'll see. If it's a situation where water is a good idea, New York are made up of little different islands. So I could easily drive out to Long Island or whatever, get close to the water and find shelter somewhere. So at least there are possibilities like that. But I think I will do okay. I'm very level-headed when it comes to emergencies. When it comes to situations, I don't panic. One of the things one of my former bosses used to tell me was that whenever something big happens at work or whenever there's a dire situation or an emergency, I don't react. I'm very calm, and that makes him feel weird about it. It's like, you should react. I want to see emotion out of you. I want to see that, you're on top of it. I was like, I am on top of it. I just don't panic like you do. Like, I assess the situation. I think logically. I'm like, all right, this is what we got to do. Right? Because if I panic, you can't think. And then you do stuff based off of emotion, which is usually the bad thing to do. Right? So at least I have that going for me. Bro, you're in America. It's a gun paradise. It depending where in America. You are right. Overall, you are right. But New York, sometimes that could be tough. If I was in Texas, whole different story. Kind of fitting how much Mad Max revolves around gasoline. Yeah. Or guzzling. You're right. That's what they call it in the movies, right? Gas is so important because they need to be able to travel. You got to steal as much gas as possible. Scorching in India, we have tuk-tuks that run off of natural gas. And there are truck bed ones that fit a bunch of natural gas canisters. That'd be what I go for. Basically a vehicle with unlimited fuel or almost unlimited. I guess one of the great things about vehicles today, or now with the scooters and all that, is that they all run through electricity, right? So one interesting thing to do would be maybe to find an electric car and use solar energy to charge them. So I think one of the things that I would do, especially if I ever found myself moving to a new house or whatever, is to build some sort of way to gather electricity through solar energy, right? I have friends who have houses that have solar energy panels on their roof, and they have their own generator. So I think one of the cool things to do is to figure out how to do that. Especially with like the electric scooters that you could kind of like charge them through electricity. So I think that would be, nowadays, I think that would be much easier to do. Yeah, if you're talking about like electricity as far as electricity provided to all the cities, yes, the grids would be down. But if you had a way to siphon that through solar energy by having your own generator, then I think that would be the way to go. Arnold saying last time sex. Yeah, well, I think when the apocalypse is about to go down, I think that's the time you should figure out, all right, now is the time to have sex, because during the apocalypse, as we've learned, it's not good to have a lot of sex during the apocalypse, because once you have a baby, that creates a whole other issue. Scores, which movie are you talking about? I don't think I'm familiar with that one. Best apocalypse movie. I wait for a sound. Wanted to move. I Am Legend. I'm a Legend was an interesting movie. I don't know if I would say that would be my best apocalyptic movie, but that was a weird one because it dealt with what, vampire zombies or something like that, right? But it was all medically induced, right? So the whole, if I remember correctly, the journey was to find this cure, and the cure seemed to be effective, right? It was able to turn them back, right? So that was an interesting take on it. Those guns wouldn't stop zombies. What would stop them were gym mats. Wait a minute. Where is that from? That sounds familiar. Gym mats. All right, let me look this movie up here. Let's see. Obama movie. Oh, are you talking about Leave the World Behind? The one on Netflix? Because if you're talking about that movie, I love that movie. That was such a good movie. Yeah, Leave the World Behind is a great movie in my opinion. I love again the premise behind it, how again very fitting and more realistic when you think about it. I could really see the danger in what if a country or terrorists decide to hack the government grid, everything, right? Especially now everything's all connected to the internet, everything's so digital, and how that could cause chaotic and havoc. I think, honestly, if you ever wanted to do an interesting double feature, watch Leave the World Behind and then watch Civil War afterwards. I think it'll be like a huge mind fuck if you watch those two movies. But it is funny how Leave the World Behind, the main driving forces for this one girl is to watch the last final episode of Friends. But it's important to remember that speech she gave. That's her escape, right? That's the way that she gets away from the madness of the world. And that's the only thing that she finds important because she doesn't want to think about everything else. And we do that. We all go to movies, we play video games to just get our minds off of things. So it's very important message, really, that talks a lot about a lot of us. Yeah. Plus, by the way, it's great seeing Julia Roberts play against character. She actually played like a Karen role in that movie, which I loved. But yeah, double feature of Leave the World Behind and Civil War. I think that would be like a fantastic double feature. Much more realistic than Walking Dead. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Scorch, you always thought Civil War was almost like a sequel? Absolutely. Yeah, Karen that wanted to, yeah, with Mahershala Ali. That's so funny. Well, no, it's kind of like it's a Karen that in a way plays on that stereotype because whatever they're against usually is like a mask of things that they like. So hear me out. Again, I don't want to get political on here, right? But I always felt if someone that there are a lot of people who are very vocal about not liking black people and not liking gay people, right? I feel like those who are most vocal about that stuff secretly inside actually do. I think they actually do like gay people. Maybe they themselves are gay. But they really want to put a front out there that they don't like that stuff. So in a way, it's kind of brilliant when you think about it, where Julia Roberts plays this Karen who's kind of like showing her colors a little bit. You know, so it's just very, very interesting. Have I ever dealt with the Karen? Oh, absolutely. I've dealt with them before they were even called Karens. But if at any point you worked in any service industry, you will always experience something like that. And when I worked at Starbucks, it felt like another life ago. I've definitely experienced that. And when I worked at Blockbuster Video, the amount of people who felt that they were entitled to renting the new release of the week and were flabbergasted that I didn't save a copy for them. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. By the way, working at that time, working at a video rental store, if I wasn't if I wasn't in a relationship at that time, which I was, I probably could have gotten a lot of dates. Because people, let's just say I was offered a lot of stuff just to save a movie. Oh, people are funny. That's a common thought process. Not always. No, it's not always the case. Absolutely, but I do feel like there are a good amount of individuals out there who the most vocal are the ones who are also guilty, right? What's that common phrase? Thou's protest too much, right? Usually those who do find themselves in the same scenario. Bro, I never knew that what it was like because I know I was in China, but a woman said to me, I'm shit white bastard. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not surprised by that. I mean, for me, growing up, obviously, growing up in New York, you would think that a lot of New Yorkers are used to a lot of nationalities, but that wasn't always the case. Growing up in the 80s, someone who saw me, first of all, couldn't figure out what I was, but I looked Asian. So I've been called chink and like all those racial whatever. I had to deal with all of that stuff. Plus, it didn't help that I was extremely fat and overweight. So that added to like the bullying that I received when I was a kid. And then when I was in my metal phase growing up in high school, I had the long hair. I wore the leather jackets. I remember walking in the city and someone in Spanish called me the devil and spit at me. It's crazy, man. People are just insane. But when I've traveled overseas, I don't think I've really experienced any prejudices or racism personally. But I could see what happens. That's because you're an Asian, Arnold. For them, you don't look like them, so you are like the one who stands out. You know, and plus, China has bad history with quote unquote colonization and the British, trying to take over parts of China and rule China. Again, I don't want to get political here, but I feel like that's history. What time is it? Oh wow, it's 3:40. Oh, I've been streaming almost for 3 hours. Holy moly! Where has the time gone? I really appreciate everyone here, as I do every time. So I'm very thankful and grateful. Again, don't forget hit that like button. I think I'll be on for, you know what? Let's round things out. I'll Once I hit the 3 hour mark of streaming, then that's when I'll call it quits for today. Thoughts on the Superman movie set pictures. Okay. So usually I don't like to comment on paparazzi photos, leaked photos, all that stuff. But of course I couldn't help but look at them, right? I mean, they were everywhere this week. And I felt like each day there was like a new set that was released, right? Obviously you saw Superman, you saw Lois, you saw Mr. Terrific, it's so funny how they look directly as if they were ripped out of the comic books, right? Down to the costumes and all. And I think it's very clear at this point that they're going with the new 52 look for Superman, right? That's what it kind of looks like to me. I think it looks fine. The thing is, it's hard to judge because, as with any movie, things in real life, at least photos like in real life, they won't look the same once you see them on the big screen. When the special effects are done, when the grading's done, like the color grading, anything that they add later on. So I want to see everything in full motion before I really make any judgments. But right now, it does kind of look like that they were ripping these characters directly from the comic books. It almost looks like these people are cosplaying as these characters, which is very, very interesting. But I'm pretty sure you look at Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman when those pictures got released, it looked the same to me, right? It looked like people cosplaying as these characters. It looks interesting, I will say that, but I can't find myself really making a judgment until I finally see it in motion and I see I see how James Gunn intends us to see these people. So but I'm excited. What about you, T? What do you think? What did you think of the Superman photos that were leaked this week? What did you what do you think of the suit? Because I feel like that's the biggest point of conversation, right? Like me, I don't mind it so much. For me, it looks like the new 52 Superman. Why does Clark have broccoli hair? Yeah, his hair does look a little off. This Clark Kent, or at least the version of Clark Kent we're getting in this one, definitely doesn't fall in the same mold as the Christopher Reeve, Brandon Routh, even to a certain extent, the Henry Cavill Clark Kent. I mean, this is a hot take, but I think the Brandon Routh representation of Superman is very underrated. I actually really liked it. I know it's a throwback to the Richard Donner Superman movies, but I didn't mind that so much. I thought that was perfectly fine. Soups is not. Soup's hair, I think, is definitely more traditional from what I remember from the pictures. It's a little, what you call it, little pompadour in a way. Arnold, you have a brilliant evening. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I don't think I'll be streaming at all this weekend, so my next stream will be on Monday. We get to talk House of the Dragon and box office, so definitely looking forward to seeing you then. But have a great evening and great weekend, Arnold. T same 52 vibes, but has that Kingdom Come crest. Oh, that's a good call. You're right. Yeah, the symbol does look very Kingdom Come-ish. I'm pretty sure there's like a mixed inspiration between the two for James Gunn. I mean, now that I think of it, even Mr. Terrific, if you look at the Alex Ross representation of Mr. Terrific, it kind of looks that route too, in a way. But I never thought of it that way. That's a good call. Are you guys excited for the new Superman movie at all? Don't Arnold, in order for me to have that, I would have to have a candidate, which I don't have at the moment.
Wow.
But if I did, I can't make that promise. He 100%. As far as a Mr. Terrific look and all, or your anticipation for Superman. Oh, you're a DC guy. Okay. Wait a minute. You're a DC guy, but you have a Punisher logo as your icon. What's the deal with that? I'm just messing with you. What's going on, Fresh Designs? Kansas City, Missouri. Welcome. I've never been to Missouri, Kansas City. Hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a good day so far. Thank you for chiming in. Scorch, you just saw Kill Bill? Are you talking about the movie Kill Bill? The Superman speech. Oh, what's the Superman speech from Kill Bill? Is there a Superman speech in Kill Bill? Ah, yeah. In Kill Bill Part 2, that's right. Right? Yeah. I haven't seen that movie in so long. I think it's overdue for a rewatch. Kill Bill Parts 1. It's kind of crazy to think about that Quentin originally wanted that to be one movie. And I kind of wish he kept it that way. Cuz you could tell like in part 2 he unfortunately had to do a lot to extend it. So it would have been nice to kind of just see one continuous movie, very much like The Hateful Eight. He was actually forced to split it because they didn't think that a full 4 or 5 hour movie would work. So he was forced to split it into two. That's why a lot of people think part 2 is weaker than the first one. I think it's just a different movie because it's a second part. Who doesn't like Castle? Well, I can't argue there. I've always, even as a young kid, I always liked Punisher and Frank Castle. So again, I always had an affinity for the grounded Marvel characters. Because, I mean, if you really think about it, the Punisher has no right to be going toe to toe with most of the Marvel characters, right? Or at least the common Marvel characters. But I love that he's such a strong voice and a strong, powerful personality that he just finds himself in the mix a lot in the comic books. It's always so fascinating to me. I'm a huge Daredevil fan, though. Always loved Daredevil. He's like one of my favorites overall. Well, speaking of comic book movies, right? All right. So Superman leaks this week. And on top of that, I'm sure all of you know, was the announcement of the DC Lanterns show that is being ordered on Max, on HBO, right? Now, when it comes to DC, and I'm going to pop this up here just so you know we're talking about the latest news and all. The Green Lanterns have always been my favorite characters in the DC universe because I love the idea of powers that are based off of your own imaginations. I've always loved that concept, right? And one of the best runs in DC Comics have always been like the Hal Jordan run. I love the John Stewart run. Guy Gardner is a funny one to me, but also the War of the Rings, I guess, so to speak, with Sinestro and all that. T also enjoys the street level characters. So that's great to hear because I love the street level characters. But obviously, the Green Lanterns aren't. But I'm really excited to hear about this. So let's read about this, recap this news that was released this week. Ozark showrunner Chris Mundy, Damon Lindelof, and Eisner Award-winning Tom King are behind the latest iteration of the DC Comics story. The premium cable outlet HBO has given a straight-to-series order for Lanterns based on the long-running Green Lantern characters, specifically John Stewart and Hal Jordan from DC Comics. Chris Mundy from Ozark will serve as showrunner on the 8-episode drama and co-write the series with Damon Lindelof, who's responsible for Watchmen and Lost, and Eisner Award-winning Tom King, known for his work on several Batman titles, Mr. Miracle and Supergirl Women of Tomorrow for DC Comics. The green light for Green Lanterns, nice pun, comes almost 5 years after what was then HBO Max began developing a Green Lantern series with producer Greg Berlanti, the mastermind of the DC Arrowverse on the CW and one of the writers of the 2011 Green Lantern feature film that starred Ryan Reynolds. The first swing at the series was set to focus on the Green Lanterns, Guy Gardner and Alan Scott. Seth Grahame-Smith came aboard as writer and showrunner, and the show cast Finn Wittrock and Jeremy Irvin as Gardner and Scott. There was a creative overhaul for the show in 2022, however, saw Grahame-Smith depart, despite having written full seasons worth of scripts. Jeez. And the show refocused around John Stewart, another member of the Lantern Corps, the first black superhero to appear in DC Comics. The reworking of the show coincided with, but wasn't caused by, Warner Brothers Discovery's installation of James Gunn and Peter Safran as the heads of DC Studios, charged with launching and managing a new DC universe in film and television. Then we found ourselves early 2023. DC Studios scrapped the Berlanti-led Green Lantern show altogether in favor of Lanterns. Quote, Greg's vision was more of a space opera that he wanted to do. Safran said at a press conference, our vision is more true detective, more of a terrestrial-based investigation story. I like that a lot. We all agreed to part ways. Perhaps not coincidentally, Mundi is coming off of HBO's True Detective Night Country, where he was an executive producer and wrote 2 episodes. He also earned 5 Emmy nominations for writing and producing Netflix's hugely successful drama Ozark. Ozark is a great series. I don't know who out there has watched it. Love that series. Love it, love it, love it. We're thrilled to bring this seminal DC title to HBO with Chris, Damon, and Tom at the helm. Gunn and Safran said in a statement, Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan are 2 of DC's most compelling characters, and Lanterns brings them to life in an original detective story that is the foundational part of the unified DCU we're launching next summer with Superman. Look at that. I love it. I love everything I'm hearing about this, honestly. Those involved in writing, those involved in show running and producing, the characters they're focusing on, love everything about this. Honestly, I'm so excited for this Lantern show to come out. And if it's supposed to play an important role in the overall, I guess, universe that James Gunn is doing here, this James Gunn-led version of the DCU sounds to me right now is going to be very epic, and it's going to be involving a lot of, I don't even know what's the right way to say this, very strong and powerful characters. You have a lot of focus being put on Superman, a lot of focus being put on Supergirl. Now you have the Lanterns, right, involved in it all. It's going to be a lot of space stuff, I feel. So, because we still haven't heard of them, at least from James Gunn's side, when it comes to Batman or Wonder Woman, we're hearing a lot of these like godlike beings, characters being in the main focus. Now, of course, we have the Robert Pattinson Batman, but, you know, Gunn already told us that that is a separate universe from his main universe. So he's going to be dealing with a lot of these like godlike creatures, and I'm okay with that. I think it's going to be interesting, very, very interesting to see, but I'm super excited for it all. T is also very excited. You know, I think it's going to be great. Now, obviously the big question is who's going to be cast in the role of Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan. I don't know. You know, that is, I'm trying to think who I can see in these roles. Chat, let me know. Give or throw out some names you think that could fit the roles of Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan. T, you're right. You know, I forgot about that, but you're right. He did label the first phase as gods and monsters. You are absolutely right. Yeah. So that makes sense then. It makes sense that obviously the main gods will be the main focuses of. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I totally forgot about that. If I were to throw some names out there as far as who I would like to see play the roles of Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, I, man, this is a tough one. I think an actor like, I don't know. I'm at a loss of words, y'all. I can't. Let's see. All right. Actually, no. A lot of the actors I'm thinking are a little bit too old for these roles. You know, Idris Elba, Coleman Domingo, Yahya Abdul Mateen is in too many things already. So I feel like that would be like a weird cast for Jon Stewart. I don't want to see Michael B. Jordan because I feel like his name gets brought up way too much. Maybe an unknown or an up and coming person. Yeah, I'm at a loss. I don't know. But if there's one thing that I'm always confident about is the way James Gunn has cast his roles. So I think that it'll be a lot of fun to see at the end of the day. So we had that piece of comic book movie news that came out recently, and obviously a lot of people are talking about Fantastic Four, thanks to Kevin Feige in his recent interview on the brand new Marvel podcast. Ooh, Sterling K. Brown. I like that choice, but isn't he a little too old too? Let's see. How old is Sterling K. Brown? Oh, he's like a couple years older than I am. It depends. It depends on what are they going to give us a well-established Jon Stewart or a newer Jon Stewart? I think that's going to play heavily. But I like Sterling K. Brown a lot. As an actor, he is fantastic. But yeah, so there's this new Marvel podcast. And I gave you the story before. I've told you guys I don't listen to a lot of podcasts out there. But I wanted to listen to this because I wanted to hear the interview that Kevin Feige was giving. And I heard it. And then when I started to hear the rest of the podcast, I turned it off because I was reminded of certain podcasts that I don't like listening to are the ones that are trying to be so magazine-like. And it's just a bunch of clips that they play. And I don't feel proper chemistry between the two hosts right now. So it is kind of weird. And it's their first episode. Maybe we'll get better as it goes on. But Kevin Feige revealed a lot during his little interview. And here's an article that's going to help recap some of that stuff. So Marvel has announced the launch of the official Marvel podcast, which as an audio series begins with a brief 15-minute interview with Marvel Studios head honcho Kevin Feige. Feige didn't make any major revelations, but there were a couple little interesting bits coming to emerge from the interview. Asked as to what he's personally really excited for, he says Fantastic Four. Quote, I'm extremely excited because those characters are mainstays, are legendary pillars of the Marvel Universe that we've ever got to play with or explore in any significant way outside of Multiverse of Madness, and some fun teases before. Feige also essentially confirmed the rumors the film is a period piece, one likely set in an alternate universe version of 1960s New York City, which sounds akin to something like The Jetsons. It's a period piece. And there's another piece of art we released with Johnny Storm flying in the air and making a force symbol. And there was a cityscape in the corner of that image. And there was a lot of smart people who noticed that the cityscape didn't exactly look like the New York we know and the New York that existed in the 60s in our world. And so those are smart observations, I'll say. Feige says the film begins shooting at the end of July, specifically the Monday after Comic-Con weekend, and so expect the cast to show up in San Diego next month for the confab. Indeed, Deadline reported today the studio will be returning to Hall H after missing it last year. This is a very big, important piece of information because Marvel needs this year. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Feige says Marvel is always trying to innovate, and in doing so, also teased the new Wonder Man series starring Yahya Abdul-Mateen. Again, see, another reason why I didn't bring his name up, because he's attached to too many things. When you stop trying to innovate, that's when you start to atrophy. I think it's important to tell new, unique stories in new and interesting ways. We have a show coming up that we've talked very little about called Wonder Man that I won't talk about much today either, except to say it's extremely different than anything we've done before. It's very exciting to be a part of a company for 25 years or more and still be able to do new things and to take new characters and storylines to new places. That's what's exciting. Wonder Man is executive produced by Shang-Chi director Destin Daniel Cretton and is expected out late next year. So, CF, I don't know what you're referring to. Maybe you can help explain that a little bit more. And T just wants Doom. I agree. I can't wait for the time where we finally get introduced to Doom. Good old Dr. Doom. But I'm excited. Fantastic Four still also remains one of my favorite families and teams in the Marvel Universe. I remember reading their comics as a kid, and I always loved the whole dynamic. We got the Tim Story movies with Jessica Alba, a very young Chris Evans, just to name a few. And for the time, I thought they were okay. They were funny, but they weren't great movies. And then we got that reimagining of it, thanks to Fox, with the aforementioned Michael B. Jordan and Miles Teller, which was a disaster, in my opinion. So I'm really excited what they could do now under the new Marvel Studios banner here. It is interesting to think about that we are going back to the 60s in a possible alternate universe, right? So how is that going to play out with the rest of the MCU canon? I think what's going to happen here is, and if you're familiar with the comic books, Reed deals a lot with multi-dimensional travel, exploration, all those things. They're going to eventually find their way to the current dimension and things will go on from there, right? So I basically think that's what's going to happen here. As far as Comic-Con's concerned, I think Marvel needs this year because Marvel, in a lot of people's eyes, are not doing so hot, right? A lot of the stuff that they put out recently have been crap, have been lambasted, talked about negatively, with all good reason, because a lot of stuff we got hasn't been good, to say the least. So they really need their presence this year. As in Hall H, I'm sure we'll get the full cast of Fantastic Four for the first time on stage together. Yaya, I'm sure will show up for that. I'm sure we'll get some announcements based off of what we're going to see coming out of Deadpool and Wolverine, maybe. Maybe we'll get to see Catherine Hahn talk about Agatha all along. Maybe we'll get a hint to what else to expect along down the line. Maybe an X-Men announcement. I don't know. But it's going to be huge. And they need it. And in past years, they've waited for D23 to kind of do their own thing. But they really need this audience and this attention now. Because they need a lot of good favor from the folks and the fans out there. Because right now, they are looked upon very much like the Star Wars universe right now, which isn't great. So they need a lot of faith building with the fan base. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Oh, yes. They're definitely going to talk about Daredevil Born Again, I'm sure. And I'm sure the cast is going to, we're going to get to finally see the Netflix cast reunited after all these years, which I'm so super excited for. I can't wait for Daredevil. I'm so excited for that. Reed is going to jack it up like Barry. I could totally see that happen. You want to see X-Men for Comic-Con? Yeah. That'll be a lot of fun if, you know, as one of the major teases or one of the major revelations is like, oh, and by the way, yes, X-Men. You know, how amazing would it be? Is like, oh, and by the way, here are your team X-Men, and we just see everyone that they decide to cast for the new X-Men movie. How nuts would that be? I don't think we're getting that, but I think that would be amazing. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to the Fantastic Four movie. I think it's long overdue, and I think it's going to mean a lot for the universe and for Marvel Studios moving forward. Yeah, T says they need X-Men. I agree with you. There are two properties right now that they need to focus on, and I think why you see Kevin really talking highly about it. You need Fantastic Four and you need X-Men. They need those two to be, you know, flawless and work really well with the fan base, because these are the two teams that are going to play heavily into the future of the Marvel Universe. Obviously, Doom, Galactus are heavily tied to the Fantastic Four, Silver Surfer. Those are some things, if you're going to maintain them as being the big main villains of these future phases, Doom and Galactus, you need Fantastic Four. Even Kang, to a certain extent. You know, you need the Fantastic Four to be big in this universe. And you need X-Men, because everyone loves X-Men. X-Men has already an established fan base. People have been waiting for Marvel and Disney to do something with this universe that they now own finally because of the Fox merger. And they need to knock that out of the park. And I think the big litmus test will be Deadpool and Wolverine. I have a feeling they're going to tease a lot of X-Men related stuff in this movie to get an idea of what the fan base is going to be looking forward to. And who knows, maybe within this movie, we may get teased who could potentially be the future X-Men. It's quite possible. Now, I know they just dropped a new teaser trailer today. I'm not planning to watch it because I'm done. I want to go into Deadpool now, very clean. You know, I saw like a picture of Sabretooth. Is that true? Like they got Taylor Mane back as the original Sabretooth for this movie, from what it looks like. It's cool. Would have been better if I was surprised by it in the movie, but that's what I saw. And there are thumbnails with that all over YouTube right now. T, you weren't so happy about the Silver Surfer deal? I think this is just a precursor. I think, you know, obviously with the casting of Garner, is it Julia Garner, as Silver Surfer, I think, again, just knowing the story behind her character, I think she is just a launching step. I think Silver Surfer proper is around, but she is doing this as a favor to Galactus to save him, I think. And then she's probably going to end up asking for the help from the Fantastic Four. And that's where you're going to get a team up. She's going to betray Galactus. And Galactus is like, all right, well, you're going to betray me. So this is what's going to happen to your husband unless he, you know, or your love interest, I should say. And he's going to now work for me or he's going to die and they're going to try to save him and blah, 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 and that. So I think that's again, speculation. This is just my opinion. I think this is what they're planning to do. It'll be interesting. Very, very interesting. But yeah, I'm excited for Fantastic Four. Wonder Man, I'm curious. I'm curious as to what they're trying to do with that series. You know, I mean, they need to get it out of their system of constantly trying to introduce new characters to us and develop the characters they've already introduced to us. Because, again, I'm waiting. Where's Shang-Chi? What's happening with the Eternals? Right? What's happening to Pip the Troll and the Harry Styles character that was introduced at the end of that movie? You know, is anything going to happen with Moon Knight moving forward? You know, what all these new characters that they've been introducing to us and trying to shove down our throats. Is anything going to happen with these people? You know, who knows? What's going on, Clone Wars? Clone Wars is in the house. Great to see you here. Hope you're having a great Friday. When is your next tournament? I know it's coming up soon, right? Black Knight, that's another great one. You know, Kit Harington, where is he now? You know, he had the little whisper from Mahershala there. Blade, the very stuck in development hell Blade. I'm sure that's going to be talked about at Comic-Con. They need to talk about that because they need to save face with that because there's just too much crap happening with that development. You know, this is, again, just a lot of new characters that they haven't. Like, stop it. We get it, all right? The universe is big, but you have to get to a point where you need to like cut it and say, let's develop who we've already introduced. Why have we introduced them in the first place, and what role are they going to play moving forward, right? So we'll see. Clone Wars next week is your tournament. All right, awesome. Yeah, Blade seems like a hot mess right now. It's insane of how bad. I think Blade is the first thing that has backfired on Marvel big time. Whatever is going on behind the scenes, whatever the reasons, Blade for some reason has been nothing but bad luck for Marvel. And I think at this point, honestly, if you want my honest opinion, and I've said this already before, they should cancel it, put it on the back burner, figure out what you're going to do, and then revisit it later on. Right? Because right now, it's too much of a shit show. And I know Mahershala is probably pissed. I won't be surprised if eventually we hear him dropping out, even though he says he's not because he's very heavily invested in the story. I heard he had a lot to do with the current script that they're working on. They just interviewed Mia Goth during the premiere of Maxine. They asked her about Blade because the rumors came out that she is the main villain in Blade. And she gave a very good quote about it. She's like, they are very passionate and they care about this project a lot. You know, so they're taking it very seriously and they're putting good care in it. I hope she's still involved in it because that would be cool to see. But if it was me, I would put it on the back burner. I forgot who said it. Someone in the chat said it. Scorched, maybe it was you or I forget who. But someone said it would be awesome. And I think it would make things easier for Kevin Feige if we had people in control of the different parts of the MCU. So, like, for example, have a head of creative for the street team. Your Spider-Man, your Daredevil. If you're going to bring back Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, whoever those people are, Punisher, I guess you would include maybe Moon Knight in there. But if not, have a person, a creative behind that team to organize that side of things. Then you have Team Supernatural. Your Blade, your Black Knight. I guess you could put Moon Knight in there. Werewolf by Night. Right? Have Team Supernatural. Then have Team Cosmic. Guardians of the Galaxy. Eternals. Who else would you put in there? Adam Warlock, right? Maybe that's where Fantastic Four will live in. You know, then have like a Mystics team, your Doctor Strange, and everything else that falls in there. And then have Team Avengers, right? This is the overall team that we're focusing on. These are the stories that we're going to tell with these guys. You know, if you had, and again, this is just spitballing ideas, right? But if you had a creative person in charge of each of these facets of the Marvel Universe, and then these guys will work with Kevin Feige for the overall story of the MCU, I think that would make things a lot easier and better. That would alleviate Kevin Feige having to do so much, you know, making his time stretched out too thin, focus on the overall big picture, and then work on these like generals who are in charge of these facets of the MCU. Because it's too big. It's way too big. Way too big for one person to oversee everything. And I think it's gotten to the point where he needs that help right now. He says, seems as if they're pushing Blade's daughter in film, which if you look at Blood Hunt comic series currently, it may add up. That's cool. I'm all down for that. I read a little bit about the involvement of Blade's daughter in the whole storyline, and I thought it was very interesting. And if we've learned, if what we've seen with how Marvel treats their characters and the storylines they like to stick to, it's a lot of common stuff or newer stuff, right? Some would say the Avengers is more based on Mighty Avengers. Spider-Man is more like Ultimate Spider-Man, right? Ultimate Avengers, I should say, for Avengers, Ultimate Spider-Man, more recent storylines. So it would be interesting to see how when they figure out the whole Blade situation, what kind of story we're going to get out of all that. But I think it's safe to say they need to figure it out pronto. And if they can't, stop, take a couple of steps back, and regroup when you really figure things out overall. So yeah, I think those are the three major comic book related storylines that we got this week. I don't think there's anything else bigger outside of that, right? As far as news is concerned. I think there were some like quotes about Innocent and how he's approaching the whole Galactus role. I think the casting of Ralph Innocent as Galactus was brilliant, by the way. I think I love him as a character actor. I think that he's going to do a great job with that. All right, y'all. I'm going to head out like in 5 minutes. Any last things you want to talk about? Let me know in the chat. Let me know what y'all are doing this weekend, how you're spending your weekend. Would love to hear it. As I mentioned already before, I am heading to a barbecue tomorrow, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And Sunday, I don't know what I'm going to do Sunday. I'll figure it out. Also, once again, T, I do want to thank you once again for the gifted memberships and the memberships. I really highly appreciate it. It was very, very nice of you. I'll be working on updating the membership badges. A good friend of mine made a suggestion on the badges for the membership tiers, and I'm going to be hopefully implementing them soon. So instead of that little star that you get, I'm hoping it's going to be a nice little icon that is related to what I talk about here on the channel. So hopefully you guys will love that. Anyone playing any cool video games? Maybe something that I should be aware of, that I should maybe check out? another good friend of mine just gave me his Quest 2. So I'm going to be dabbling in some VR stuff coming up, hopefully soon. We'll see. My only problem with messing around with VR is that sometimes I get headaches, or it makes me feel dizzy sometimes. So that's, maybe I'm just getting old. So one of the downsides. Also, again, if you're watching live, do me a quick favor, hit that like button. Let's make the algorithm work for us all here as a community. And let's keep growing. Grow, grow, grow. Go, go, go. Also, if someone can find Star-Lord and wake him up, because more than likely he is still sleeping. And I really wanted to talk to Star-Lord about Total Recall, the new 4K Blu-ray that I got, with audio commentary from Arnold Schwarzenegger and Paul Verhoeven. Let's go. I am so excited to check that out and watch it. All right, y'all. I think I am going to call it for the day. If no one else has anything else to say, I am going to call it. So again, thank you so much for everyone tuning in. I really, really appreciate the support. I appreciate the conversation, the chat. I appreciate everyone here. I'm going to go through some of the names. Thank you to Alex. Thank you to Arnold. Huge, huge shout out and thank you again to T for the support today. Clone Wars for Life. We got Scorched. Fresh Designs. Who else we got? I don't want to miss anybody. Ados, always a pleasure having you in the streams. Let's see. I said Arnold before. T. Mr. Breast, who finally calmed down and behaved. Thank you for that. We got D, who chimed in earlier in the stream. Suck, who showed up earlier as well. Kevin Davis, always a pleasure having you on the streams, having our fun box office conversations. So always a lot of fun time with all of you guys. If I don't see you for the rest of the weekend, more than likely I won't, because I'm not planning to stream at all this weekend. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Hope you have some time to relax. Watch something fun, play something fun and enjoyable. Enjoy your weekend. I'll be back here on Monday to talk about the box office weekend. House of the Dragon, episode 3, I think we're heading into. Talk about that, and we'll also talk about the latest news in movies and pop culture. So, with all that being said, stay cool, stay classy, stay safe. Catch all of you next time. Peace out, everybody. Bye-bye.